Yo, this is Jeezy, urban philosopher, philanthropist, and the host of the Recession Podcast, a production of the Black Effect Podcast Network and iHeartRadio. I'll bring you raw conversations about systemic racism, mental health, life on the streets, and much more. So join me on the Recession Podcast by Jeezy, that's RESESSION Podcast, on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you prefer your podcast. The Gangster Chronicles is a weekly podcast hosted by former gangbanger and inmate James McDonald, rapper MC8, and myself, Norm Steele. Weekly we get together and have conversations with everyone from former gangsters, drug dealers, and bank robbers to police rappers and politicians. The Gangster Chronicles podcast is a glimpse into a world where society is rarely allowed access. Nothing is ever scripted and is 100% real. We don't glorify the gang, we simply educate and inform the world on what goes on in the streets of urban America. The Gangster Chronicles podcast is available on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for listening to the Herd Podcast. Be sure to catch us live every weekday from 12 to 3 Eastern, 9 to noon Pacific on Fox Sports Radio and FS1. Find your local station for the Herd at foxsportsradio.com or stream us live every day on the iHeartRadio app by searching Herd.
You're listening to Fox Sports Radio.
It is a Monday. I am well rested, almost too well rested. This is The Herd, wherever you may be and however you may be listening. Fox Sports Radio, iHeartRadio, and FS1. 1 hour from now, Colin right, Colin wrong. Hall of Fame coach Jimmy Johnson in 30 minutes. This between no preseason, COVID, injuries, more injuries. It's the craziest year ever. You just don't know what you're going to get in a Sunday. Joy Taylor is joining me. It's last night. It's just a mess. How are you?
Oh, I'm fabulous. That was an amazing weekend.
Yeah.
All around. Start to finish.
That made up for the Heat getting blown out in the finals.
Yeah, okay. We got next year. A great weekend.
So, when you're a columnist, there's a saying for columnists, people who write columns, not just sports columns, any columns. Don't bury the lead. When you're a retailer and I walk into your big box or small retail outlet, what are you trying to sell me? Don't be subtle. Direct me where you want me to go for the best goods. When you're a football team, similarly, what are you trying to establish? Don't outthink the room. Don't be subtle. What are you trying to establish? I watched two football teams, Saints and Tampa. One made it clear what they wanted to do, and one was making crap up. Go ahead, blame Brady. The defense was working. Blame who you want, I don't care. What was that from Tampa? Their first 5 drives, 3 and out. They didn't try to establish a running game. It was a series of odd, low percentage throws. Did they spend all week babysitting Antonio Brown? I don't know what it was. I mean, Tampa's still 6-3. Almost everybody in the NFL said they'd be 9-7. That's what Vegas thought. So they're on track. They're going to be a 9-10 win team. But it's the way they have looked against Chicago. It's the way they have looked against the Saints last night. And my takeaway was, the first 5 drives of the game, what was Tampa trying to establish? They were just making crap up. New Orleans, the Saints came out. Short passes. Get the ball out of Drew's hands. We've got big, rangy receivers. Get it out. Protect Drew. I knew exactly what the Saints were trying to do. All night. I knew I could watch it. A well-coached football team can have a bad game, a bad half. I get it. But this was a coaching mismatch. This felt like Sean Payton and Drew Brees collectively put their heads together, and Dennis Allen, the defensive coordinator, and it was just a witch's brew of stuff that would work. I don't know what Tampa was doing, and that's on the head coach. And yeah, Brady was bad, but so was the defense, and we know Todd Bowles can coach. That's the responsibility of the head coach. The protection was bad. There was no run game established. It was low percentage throws. And stop worrying about Gronk and AB. Just get the ball to the guys that are open. I still don't think they used Leonard Fournette enough, and I don't think they'd run the football enough. I didn't see any adjustments from Tampa. Like, listen, we had no preseason. We got COVID. Guys are hurt. Seattle had a bad first half. They were more competitive in the second half. The Kansas City Chiefs had a bad game against the Raiders. It happens, okay? It's a weird year. Players can't go out. They're young men. You have bad Sundays. But to not I know Tampa was on a short week, but I don't know what they were trying to do. I didn't get any of it. I didn't see any of it. You ever read a newspaper column and you're through with it and you're like, what was she trying to say? What was he trying to say? You go into a store and the feng shui is bad and you're all over it and you're like, what? Go to a grocery store and you're like, lead me somewhere. Take me somewhere. The produce is too close to the cereals, too close to this, too close to that. I got motor oil right next to the apple juice. What is this? Take me somewhere. Take me somewhere as a team. Tampa last night, and this was not my knock on Bruce Arians, it's always been this, is that he's fun, he's funny, but his teams are a little loose, they're a little inconsistent. I don't know exactly what I'm getting, and the great coaches will have one on in 30 minutes. I always feel like I knew what Jimmy Johnson, I know what Chuck Noll, I know what Bill Belichick, I know what they want to do. I can see it on television. I watch the game and I'm like, oh, they have watched film, like Buffalo yesterday. When you watch Buffalo, Buffalo said, we don't respect Seattle's pass rush or secondary. We're not even going to run the ball. We're going to go downfield right at Seattle. I didn't have to be in one film session for the Bills. You could see it within the second series. They attacked Seattle's secondary. They didn't respect it on film. Our receivers are better than their DBs. That's good coaching. I can see it. I know what you looked at as a staff and went, weakness, attack it. Well, you watch Alabama play. Their first two series, they'll tell you right out of the gate, this is what they're weak. I watched Notre Dame against Clemson. Notre Dame told you what they thought they could do against Clemson. 3.5 hours. I don't know what Tampa was doing. 5 rushing attempts is the lowest in NFL history, and one was a kneel down. What? I mean, they never established anything. So, I mean, blame Brady. Suddenly, Brady can't play quarterback. Todd Bowles doesn't know what he's doing. None of their players are any good. I don't buy that. The culpability is always on the head coach to me, because everybody has bad games, but you got to make adjustments. Tampa never did, and here's Tom after.
Turning the ball over against a good team never helps. We just didn't play the way we're capable of playing. Everyone's got to do a lot better, and it starts with me. And get back to work tomorrow morning and try to make it a better week.
Now, I will say, this has been the most inconsistent year ever. I mean, no preseason, so young players are all over the place. I've seen the Titans have a terrible game. Seattle yesterday was awful. I still can't quite figure out week to week what Buffalo is, and I think they're well coached. So I understand inconsistency this year. I totally get it. But the inconsistency that COVID and injuries are bringing us in no preseason, plus the inconsistency historically of Bruce Arians, it makes me worry about this team. Like, about every third game, offensively, I don't know what Tampa's trying to do. All right, let's go to this. The most entertaining football game I think I've seen all year. All year was Miami to Arizona. I'm going to tell you, that was 3.5 hours of just fun. So I told you I was worried about Tua. Tua looks small, and he doesn't have a ton of wiggle, and he's not Kyler Murray. So let me just say this about the game. Kyler Murray was unstoppable against what I perceive as an excellent head coach and a very good defense. Tua did a lot of his stuff against what I consider to be a bad defense, and I don't know about the coaching staff. So what Kyler did against that defense and that coach is way more impressive to contextualize it than what Tua did. But Tua's just playing now for the first time, second game ever. So let's talk about Tua. I thought this league's about head coaches and quarterbacks. When you get a Jimmy Johnson and Aikman, you get a Chuck Noll and a Bradshaw, that's when you win Super Bowls. When you get a Bill Walsh and a Montana, you get a Belichick and a Brady, that's when you win Super Bowls. You get a Coughlin and an Eli in his prime, that's when you win Super Bowls. It's not just the quarterback, it's not just the coach. The combination of Brian Flores and Tua, you should be very excited about. And in the history of the NFL, defensive coaches with great quarterbacks win Super Bowls. Belichick, Brady, Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson. Tua was really impressive. Now, it's a limited defense, but I love what Miami did. They rolled him left. They rolled him right. There were 7-step drops. There were short drops. There was a quarterback draw. He showed, as Trent Dilfer talked about, short space athleticism. What I really liked about Tua, and I've had a couple of coordinators that have dealt with him before, I know at Alabama, is that it's not just being quick physically. But a lot of great quarterbacks or good quarterbacks aren't great because they're not quick instinctively. Is that they don't make really good quick decisions. And the better the defense, the quicker decision you have to make. You have less time in the pocket, less time before you get hit. I thought the thing that was great about Tua yesterday, he was asked a bunch of times, think quick, act quick, move quick. Aced all of them. And that is something a lot of good quarterbacks can struggle with. Big Ben drives me nuts. When you ramp up the speed against Big Ben, he makes a lot of mistakes 15 years into doing this. But I thought with Tua, I thought they asked him, they moved him around, drop deep, go left, go right. But all the times in that game, and we all know he's accurate. Like, that's the no-brainer. We're never arguing. The comp for him, and we've been on this for 2 years, the comp for him is Drew Brees. He is bizarrely accurate. He's got a beautiful release. He's very accurate. That's never been the issue with him. We know that's good. Like Joe Burrow. He's Tony Romo. His escapability is not under question. Justin Herbert, arm strength. We know certain, Lamar Jackson's quickness. We know certain things. Tua's accuracy, that's not up for debate. He throws an incredibly accurate football. But I thought yesterday, just the ability to do multiple things, throw from multiple spots, to make really quick decisions in the red zone. It's a cluttered space. I thought he was great on that. I thought he was fantastic on it. And that's what I worry about. Now, he's going to play better defenses. But if you're a Miami Dolphins fan, what you saw yesterday, I thought Flores had a great day as a football coach. I thought he had a great game plan, good adjustments, and I thought Tua passed the eyeball test, accuracy test, make a quick decision test, sprinkled the ball around. He didn't get locked into one guy. He gave it to a lot of different guys. That was fantastic. Brian Flores afterwards.
And I thought he made a lot of plays for us. A lot of big plays for us, especially down the stretch when we needed it. It was kind of a back and forth game. They made plays, we made plays. The stage wasn't too big for him tonight. He played well.
Here's the other thing. Ryan Fitzpatrick got benched. He went to Harvard. But he throws some bad picks. Okay? So Ryan Fitzpatrick is your classic gunslinger. You fall in love with him and fall out of love with him on the same drive. But what's great about Tua here, and I think Brian Flores knew this, Brian Flores is like, listen, this defense is good. Our defense is good and our kicking game's good. If we can just cut the mistakes down. So we all thought it was a little bit of a pullback on Fitzpatrick to Tua, right? He didn't have all this. But actually, Tua fits Miami's personnel better. This team can win a lot of 23-20 games. They can win a lot of 23-20 games. What they can't do, they're not talented enough to get in shootouts and have 2 picks. And you're not going to have a lot of 2-pick games with Tua. So he actually fits. He's more calculated. He plays within a system, but he's got enough juice to make plays that you couldn't coach. And the other thing about it is, one of the reasons, and Jimmy Johnson will talk about this later, is that you can do a lot of stuff at practice. And I've heard NFL guys tell me this. But as a quarterback in practice, nobody's going to light you up. You're not going to get, nobody's going to light up Troy Aikman in his prime at practice. So you have to play in games. Because then there's a fear for a quarterback. Oh, I can get knocked out. And a lot of quarterbacks, it's like they say in baseball, he's great at batting practice. He's a batting practice hero. Live pitching, not the same. Batting practice, it's grooved in. Tua may have looked great at practice, but when you add the element of, dude, somebody may take you out. A lot of guys, psychologically, it messes with them. They're not the same in games. Tua was. Buda Baker came roaring like a freight train at him, and he just, boom. Again, instinctive, quick, move, quick, fast. So I think that's why they played him. I think Flores says, you know what? With our personnel, Tua's actually a better fit. He's not a gunslinger. He plays a more calculated style. And the second thing is, we got to see if this kid, live bullets, can play. Because a lot of guys are great at practice. But when there's the fear of, I can hear footsteps, and these are not my buddies that I have lockers next to. These guys will take me out. They'll horse collar and throw me down. They'll go low. They'll hit me high. And I thought Tua was great. That game, I'm telling you, man, if that thing comes up on the NFL Network and they replay it, it was so much fun. Such a great football game. Coming up next, Pete Carroll, he worked on his contract extension all week. Maybe that was all he worked on. I'll defend Russell Wilson. Yes, I will. Again.
Be sure to catch live editions of The Herd weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio, FS1, and the iHeartRadio app.
When Law & Order is the headline, what does it really mean for us? Now, I'm Ebony K. Williams, an attorney and former public defender. I'm also a broadcast journalist and host of a new podcast where we're going to cross-examine news-making cases and famous faces to help better understand the facts and the context of the narrative.
That's right, and I'm Dustin Ross. I'm a TV writer and a cultural observer, and more importantly, I am thrilled to be co-hosting Holding Court with Ebony K. Williams.
This is not a legal podcast.
And it ain't no true crime podcast.
No, we're helping you understand how to navigate a rigged system.
That's right, this show is for the people.
And to help us understand how the laws impact our lives. So we're going to break down the so-called law and order headlines and get to what it really means for the culture.
That's right, you guys. Let's get informed, let's get talking, and let's bring some light and insight to our community.
Listen to Holding Court with Ebony K. Williams on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Mandy B, former accountant turned podcaster and founder of my own subscription box company. I'm Wheezy, former tech exec, now podcaster, comedy writer, and I make up half of the Horrible Decisions podcast. We combine comedy, raunchiness, all in effort to destigmatize kinks and normalize conversations that are normally taboo, like sex, dating, and relationships. Make sure you tune in this Monday so you can hear conversations like these. He sets up the phone, he bends over in the, y'all want to see it? No. We have never suggested cheating, bro. So I'm not going to tell her to cheat on this man. Otherwise, it's great.
Why is Future toxic?
Are you serious?
I'm just asking. I don't want no beef on horrible decisions. Maybe that was a horrible decision to ask that question.
Wait. Join us every Monday on the iHeart app, the #1 place for podcasts. And don't forget to search Horrible Decisions. That's WHOREIBLE Decisions on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
So the world's best football player, in my opinion, is Russell Wilson, and yesterday he was not good. It happens. It's okay. No reason to go crazy. I think there is a criticism of Russell Wilson of the Seahawks. They got doused by the Bills, and I think it's a realistic one. And I think it's something that happens to a lot of people. It happens to a lot of quarterbacks. Russell Wilson is pressing. He's trying to do too much. Well, I understand that, and I'm certainly not condoning 4 turnovers, but Seattle rushed for 57 yards. Once again, Seattle's best running backs aren't healthy. Once again, Seattle is playing from behind. Russell Wilson's smart. He has eyes and stuff. He watches every single mobile quarterback Seattle faces has their best game of the year. Cam Newton, best game of the year against Seattle's defense. Kyler Murray, first or second best game of the year against Seattle's defense. Josh Allen was struggling until yesterday. Then he went 31 for 38 and a passer rating of 130. Russell knows that. When he faces a mobile quarterback, that guy's going to have all sorts of career numbers. And when you look, Josh Allen struggled for a month. He threw for 415 yards, 138.5 passer rating, threw 7 incompletions all day, and people were wide open. And we think of Seattle, I do, as a Super Bowl team, and the Arizona Cardinals as just entertaining. But let me ask you a question. Has Seattle become the Arizona Cardinals? A wildly gifted quarterback, kind of small, but a generationally special player with a bunch of injured running backs, a defense you can't trust, one big receiver, one speedy receiver, and an old guy, Greg Olsen and Larry Fitzgerald, that are hanging on and still can make plays. When I watched Arizona and I watched Seattle, I see the same team when I watched them play 2 weeks ago. It's the same team. Is that, and this is no knock at anybody, but Seattle's in a weird spot. They gave up a bunch of first-round picks. They're very top-heavy. They have 3 or 4 stars. Bobby Wagner, Jamal Adams, Russell Wilson. I love the Carlos Dunlap acquisition. He's easily their best defensive lineman. He's been there 10 days. But you can see Russell Wilson. The running backs are never healthy. They fall behind games. They can't stop anybody. And if you're a mobile quarterback against Seattle, you're just going to do whatever you want to do. You're just going to do whatever you want to do. They're just not good enough defensively. They've given up draft picks. Pete's a very good coach and a mentor defensively. His teams usually get better as the season progresses. But I think there's a secret sauce to beating Seattle, and it's a mobile quarterback, and Cam had his best day, and Josh had his best day, and Kyler had one of his best days, and I think Russ Wilson's pressing. He knows it. He's like, he can look at the schedule and go, okay, I got to score 35 points to beat Arizona. And I think that's what it is, and he's pressing. And I don't know what it is, but it was the same thing when Pete was at USC. Maybe he practices too hard. His teams are banged up a lot. They can't keep a running back healthy. They're on their third and fourth and fifth running backs. So I do think if they get healthy, that's a very dangerous team. But it's a shootout team. And those teams don't generally, it's hard to win a Super Bowl, even if you have Russell Wilson, who talked after the game.
We just got to get cleaner. I think that's the thing about this game more than anything else, rather than trying to make up reasons or whatever. I scored 34 points. We're pretty good offense, but I think that we can be better. And today we needed to score 42. So that's the reality today.
Listen, Tampa never fought back. They made adjustments. They made it competitive. And frankly, if they'd have made 2 stops in the entire game, they would have won. So, but I think I think Pete Carroll sees what we all see, is we can't stop mobile quarterbacks. And so we got to just let Russ take over. I mean, let Russ cook, yes, but he shouldn't have to be the waiter, the busboy, the owner, the prep cook, the chef. He's pressing because he has to. And frankly, if you ask guys, to do what he has to do, you're going to have bad Sundays. And they did. Here's Joy with the news.
Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
Steelers are 8-0 for the first time in franchise history.
Pittsburgh girl, I wouldn't brag too much about that performance.
I don't know if there's any other teams in the league that are 8-0. I'm pretty sure just one. They wasn't pretty though. They were down to the Garrett Gilbert-led Cowboys for most of the game, trailing by as much as 13 points in the first half. I gotta tell you though, I never flinched. I'm like, they'll figure this out. I did get nervous though when Ben left. Yes. They didn't take their first lead until there were just over 2 minutes left. The Cowboys did have one last chance to pull off the upset, but Minkah Fitzpatrick, what a move getting Minkah Fitzpatrick has been.
He is a defensive playmaker.
Yes.
Like he's got an Ed Reed quality. Like he'll make plays on defense that feel almost offensive.
Always where he needs to be in the big moments. He knocked the ball down the end zone as time expired to preserve Pittsburgh's undefeated season. Yeah. Ben Roethlisberger was 29 of 42, 306 yards and 3 touchdowns. Garrett Gilbert, 21 of 38, 243 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. It was just one of those games where it's kind of unexplainable, but at the end, well, win column and the last column, and the better team is going to come out on top in a situation.
I'll make an argument it's totally explainable because it's what Pittsburgh's been for 10 years. They play close. They play down.
Like they play to their competition.
Always, and that's why I never trust them. Because I think you can do that and win 9-10 games, but boy, you can't do it against Peyton Manning, Brady. You're not going to be able to do it against Mahomes. I think that'll be this is why I keep saying I can't put them as a top team in the league. Is that I know they're talented, and Mike Tomlin's had a good year, but this is just who they beat. They're defined by playing to the level of competition.
Well, I still think that and I felt the same way about it last week. It's the Chiefs and the Steelers are the best teams in the league.
And I don't have a lot of arguments.
And then there's the next level, and that starts with the Bucs. So we've talked already about that performance last night, which was a disaster. In the same division, though, Lamar Jackson has been 0-6 in his career when trailing at halftime. Unlike the Steelers game, I was feeling like this was going to be very bleak for the Ravens, and we were going to come in here today having to talk about what's going on with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. They were down 10-7 to the Colts in the first half, but Lamar overcame that deficit for the first time and got the 24-10 win. Yeah. The victory also gave him a 25-5 record in the regular season, which ties Dan Marino for the best start by a quarterback in the Super Bowl era.
Okay,
he had a great second half.
Let me defend Lamar on something. This is a really good defense.
Yes.
Okay, this isn't what Tua was facing. This was a really good defense on the road, and he was 10 for 10 in the second half. So let's... I saw a lot of bad quarterback play. What I saw here is a bad first half, adjustments, and a very capable second half. So let's go back to a number. 30 games, 25-5. Now, do they have a ceiling postseason? Maybe they do. We'll see again. But all I know is I saw a lot of teams yesterday have a bad first half and never adjust.
Not recover, yes.
Baltimore did not play well, came out, and I thought had an incredibly efficient second half. The coach deserves credit, the quarterback, the defense. I saw a lot of teams just quit at half yesterday.
Well, that was a fair criticism of Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. He's 0-6 in his career when he's trailing at halftime. Like, that's that's how that goes. If you get up on the Ravens, we've said this the whole time, they can't play from behind.
Right.
But you only can't do something until you can. So he finally got over that hump. That is a good team in Indianapolis and a good win for them.
Yeah.
Making those
Oh,
adjustments.
it's a great win for them.
And coming out when
Yes.
and they did not. It's not just that they were losing in the first half. They did not look capable in the first half.
Yeah, but in fairness, they had a fumble near the goal line. I watched the entire game, so it was one of those. There was a lot of red zone interceptions and fumbles yesterday. It was a weird betting day. Like this game, I actually won, and thank God. But it was just one of those games where I thought Baltimore was okay, but I thought, let's get him to halftime. I kept thinking, get him to halftime and figure this out. Because I do believe Baltimore is absolutely better than Indianapolis this year.
I do too, but we've seen how they play when they get down in the first half. He was 9 for 13 for 51 yards and no touchdowns in the first half. So the fact that they were able to make that adjustment and beat that team is a really, really good win for them. Great college football weekend. The top 5 matchup between Clemson and Notre Dame lived up to the hype in Saturday's double overtime thriller. After exchanging touchdowns in the first half, Notre Dame scored first in the second and followed by a huge defensive stop. DJ Uingalele.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to get that. Was sacked twice and threw an incompletion to bring up 4th and 24, and then the final pass fell short of the line to give the Irish the win, 47-40. This was Notre Dame's first win over a number 1 team in 27 years.
Let me tell you something. The last 2 times they played Georgia, they were in the game with 5 minutes to go. They just beat Clemson. This is an academic powerhouse. Can we give Brian Kelly a little credit? I don't know what. The media's not into him. He's a little gruff. He had a bad start in Notre Dame. I understand it. But when I watch Notre Dame play, this is the most talent they've had since Lou Holtz. There's NFL line play. Ian Book's not going to make the NFL, and they're winning. They beat Clemson without an NFL quarterback. Like, Brian Kelly knows what he's doing. There's some limitations, I think, on the perimeter sometimes with them. But when I watch Notre Dame play, I'm like, that is a well-coached team. They're fundamentally solid. They generally take away one of your best weapons. Now, again, Trevor Lawrence, Clemson probably beats Notre Dame. But
we were raving about DJ last week.
Yeah.
So yes, obviously Trevor Lawrence is the starter, and he is better than him right now. He's a freshman. But I don't like I'm seeing that excuse already, like, oh, like Trevor Lawrence was not there. No, like they beat Clemson. Clemson is a great team.
Yeah.
This is a legitimate win for Notre Dame, and they deserve the credit for it. The football AP college football rankings right now are Alabama 1, Notre Dame 2, Ohio State 3, and Clemson at 4.
No problem. Texas A&M, bit of a surprise. Yeah, I got no problem. How about Indiana? How about the Hoosiers? Better than their basketball team. You didn't expect that. Good stuff. Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
One of the 4 best football coaches of my lifetime, Jimmy Johnson's a Hall of Famer. It took too long for him to get in there. National championships, Dallas Cowboys, and he is joining us from the Keys, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Jimmy, I don't want to overreact. Coaches and quarterbacks have bad Sundays, and sometimes it's just, oh, hell, nothing's working. I was a little bothered with this, though, with Tampa. Jimmy, I couldn't figure out what the heck they were trying to establish. It wasn't a run game. You can lose, and it's okay. But boy, I thought they were just cooked in coaching. What was your takeaway on their performance?
Colin, I think this happens, in professional football especially, occasionally in college football. But the talent level is so close that once you get into the season, I think a team, the players start reading just how good they are and how they are going to win this game, and they're just not up for it. And the opponent comes in there, takes a lot of chances, better prepared, and it just starts snowballing. You look on the telecast last night, everybody on the entire set that was predicted Tampa big win. No one picked the Saints.
Yeah.
And the Saints have been hearing that all week long. They prepared better. They were emotionally more ready for the ball game. They were into it. They took some chances. And then once it started going against the Buccaneers, it just snowballed. It happens. It happened in the Pittsburgh Dallas game.
Yeah.
And so I think you see this on occasion. I don't think it's really indicative of the quality, the difference in the teams. I think if these two teams played 3 weeks from now, it could be a different outcome.
Yeah. You know, you get a lot. You know the Dolphins well and that part of the country well. And I'll tell you what, we were so impressed last year with Brian Flores. They know what they are. They play within themselves. They rarely get beat on bad plays. And this league is all about quarterbacks and coaches. If you get a Jimmy Johnson and a Troy Aikman, you win Super Bowls. You get a Chuck Noll and a Terry, you win Super Bowls. So I said yesterday, it wasn't just Tua. I get a defensive coach. Tua's not going to be asked in his career to win wild shootouts. I really like the combination. What impressed you with Tua? What did you see you like, Jimmy?
I was impressed with his decision making, and I think really quality quarterbacks. That may be the number one thing that you look for is decision making. Obviously, he can throw the football, but for only his second start. I mean, you got to realize it's been a long time since he's played football.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since he's had any kind of contact. And I thought he performed extremely well. He threw the ball well. He made good decisions. He actually took the ball down and he ran a couple of times. He picked up some first downs. He threw his body into the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, he was impressive to me. And you're right, Brian Flores. They are a well-coached football team. I visited with Brian back in the off season. Him and the scouts and he's got it all together. He's got a handle on his players. I think they're going to get better and better, and they have a bunch of draft picks coming up.
Yep.
I think this is a team to be reckoned with.
Yeah. So I've struggled to put my arms around the Steelers all year because Jimmy, I've seen this now for a decade where they look the part in the hotel lobby and they are big and they're emotional and they're physical. But sometimes the details, they play down to their competition. They're a little too emotional. What did you make of yesterday? I mean, did you ever have a game when you had the Super Bowl Cowboys and you literally struggled to get a team motivated because they just knew we got better players everywhere? I mean, can you look at this game and go, hey, it happens to a really good team?
Well, it never happened to me because I was such a really hard-driven guy. I never let them smile. In fact, I did my hardest coaching when we were big favorites. When we were going to play a team and it was competitive and it's a big rivalry, hey, all I did was the X's and O's. Hey, let's get ready to play. But when we were favored by a couple of touchdowns, like the Steelers were yesterday, that's when I had my thumb on them. I mean, that's when I was grinding. That's when I put in the extra time with the players. That's when we had more physical contact.
Yeah.
Getting ready for that particular game, because these players get comfortable. It's human nature. They get comfortable. The Steelers saw that they were a 14-point favorite. In fact, it was going up above that. People were saying it's going to be a complete blowout. And Gilbert, the new quarterback, came in there and made some good decisions. He threw the ball well. They took chances. They had a big kickoff return. They had the throwback on the kickoff. Then the Steelers tried to pooch kick it once on a kickoff. He ran it all the way back down. Dallas was much better prepared than the Steelers were. And that's why it was a close ball game. The Steelers are a better football team. And just like what we were talking about with the Saints and the Bucs, 3 weeks from now, if the Steelers played the Cowboys, they might beat them by 14 or 21. But one team was ready to play yesterday, the other wasn't.
It's so interesting, Jimmy. When you're a football coach, football's like technology. Every couple years it just changes. You have to be able to pivot. And I watch the Russell Wilsons and the Kyler Murrays. And a lot of times as a coach, you can't control them. They're doing stuff off script. And you were a coach, go back to Miami, the Cowboys. You had a quarterback that you felt like you could corral a little bit. And I watch Kyler and I watch Russell Wilson. I think, what would Jimmy Johnson do knowing that they could do stuff you couldn't even teach? But sometimes bad stuff happens with that, Jimmy.
Well, yeah, it was, we tried to have a precision type of offense.
Yes.
We didn't have players that were going to be freewheeling and do it on their own. People wanted me to compare Emmitt Smith to Barry Sanders. I think Barry Sanders is the most talented back I've ever seen. But Barry Sanders, he's, if we had a hole off tackle, Barry Sanders is liable to run the other way. But with Emmitt, I made sure you run right exactly where you're supposed to run.
Right.
Because we were going to block it that way. Now, Barry Sanders might lose 5 yards. He might lose 10 yards. But he's liable to go the wrong direction and score. Because he had that God-given talent. Kyler Murray, he's got that God-given talent. And so sometimes you just have to live with it. If that's going to be your guy, you've got to live with it. They're going to win more games than they're going to lose, or else you'd have a different quarterback in there. Again, you've got to understand who you have. Like, for instance, Vinny Testaverde was unbelievably talented quarterback. Big, strong, could throw the ball. But it was very important for Vinny to have a precision-type offense. Everybody had to be exactly where they were supposed to be. Bernie Kosar, you throw him out there on a sandlot with a bunch of ragnots, and he's going to make things happen. And so you have to understand your talent. You got to understand, do you have a Troy Aikman or do you have a Kyler Murray? If you've got a Kyler Murray, then you've got to deal with that. The receivers have got to deal with it. They've got to be ready for the scramble. They've got to be ready for him to break the line of scrimmage and run. If you've got a Troy Aikman, make sure if it's supposed to be a 12-yard out, you run exactly 12 yards and you go out. And so you've got to understand your talent.
Yeah. Finally, about a minute left. Jimmy Johnson, the Hall of Famer, one of my favorite people I've ever met in football. I didn't know if John Gruden could be out of coaching for a decade and come back and win. I didn't know. Jimmy, that's a long time to be out of any business. I got to tell you, they draft well. Derek Carr's never been better. Are you a little surprised by how Gruden's fit and come back?
The 10 years, the time off didn't bother me. I wondered, just if he would have the drive, and he's got the drive.
Yeah.
I think Mike Mayock has helped tremendously with some of the talent as far as acquiring talent. But John, he is a grinder now. He is going to spend night and day. And, I've always, people come down here to the Keys and they'll say, hey, I'm looking for an assistant coach, or I'm looking for a head coach, or I'm looking for this. I said, give me a smart guy that's passionate, that wants to work hard, will put in the extra hours. Hey, and I'm fine. Now, as far as having somebody that's already qualified, if they're not passionate, if they don't work hard, I don't want them.
Yeah.
I want a smart guy that wants to work hard and is passionate about what he does. John Gruden's that way. He's smart. He works hard. He's very passionate about what he does. So I'm not surprised at the success that he's having.
I love having you on, Coach. And learn something every time. I just love having you on. And you may be at 3,000 miles away in the Keys. Go out, play some golf, go fishing, go have fun. Thanks for taking time for us.
All right, Colin, I'm not going to play golf, but I might go fishing. we just got over a big storm last night.
That's right.
As soon as this wind dies down, I'll be out there.
I appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
All right, Colin.
All right. He's just a really good guy. I love talking to Jimmy. Coming up next, okay, Steeler fans, we'll have a talk. We'll have a chat about your great football team next.
Be sure to catch live editions of The Herd weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific.
I knew they were going to kill him. Please send FBI.
This is Fight Night, a new podcast from iHeartRadio. This is the story about two guys from opposite sides of the street. A hustler blamed for robbing the most dangerous gangsters in the country.
This is like issuing a death warrant for me for something that I don't even know anything about.
And the cop who tried to save his life.
They thought he had robbed the deadliest man in this country. Guys who would not hesitate to blow your head off.
In 1970, Muhammad Ali triumphantly returned to the ring. At the hustlers' party that followed, gangsters from around the country were robbed of $1 million. This story from Atlanta, Georgia, has been reported for 50 years. But now, for the first time, you're going to hear what really happened from the people who lived it. Listen and follow Fight Night on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
On September 17th, 2009, 24-year-old Mitrice Richardson disappeared without a trace in the woods near Malibu, California. She had been arrested at a beachside restaurant for failing to pay a tab and taken to the Lost Hills Sheriff's Station.
She's not from that area, and I would hate to wake up to a morning report, lost somewhere with her head chopped off.
The police released her just after midnight, with no car, no cell phone, no money.
She doesn't know the area. She's never been in your area. Well, I think she's depressed. That's what has me fight.
That's worried you more than just her. Okay.
Mitrice disappeared into the darkness and was never seen alive again. I'm Catherine Townsend, host of the podcast Hell and Gone. We're going to try to find out what really happened to Mitrice Richardson. School of Humans and iHeartRadio present Hell and Gone Season 3. Listen to Hell and Gone on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Casper.com, life-changing sleep, 1,500 perforations, create a cooling system so effective you'll sleep through the night. Casper.com. So I remember years ago when I got out of college, I got a job in Vegas, and Mike Tyson was a real thing. I covered Jerry Tarkanian, Mike Tyson, and mobsters. And the thing I always noticed about Tyson, he had so much raw power, he could overcome average fighters. He didn't even have to have a fight plan. He just overwhelmed people. But when he fought a Holyfield, a Lennox Lewis, somebody that was smart, cagey, had a chin, he could unravel really fast. He was a different fighter. If he found somebody that could toy with him, could outsmart him, would dance around, could keep him at length. And the Steelers have a little bit of that quality. They're so good defensively, and they're so emotional, and they're so physical. They overwhelm a lot of their mistakes. But they're 8-0, and this is why I struggle to buy into them. They have 2 double-digit wins. It's like you are who I see, which is you're close against everybody. And again, they overwhelmed Cleveland. They get up for big games. But I've fallen for this now a half a dozen times in the last decade, where they're really good in the regular season, and they kind of play to their competition. Then you get to the postseason, and you got an Andy Reid, or you got a Belichick, or you got a Tony Dungy, you got a Peyton Manning. Well, I got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes around the corner. That's all about details. That's all about efficiency. And those guys just waltz through the playoffs. So when I watch Pittsburgh, I think they're a really great television show. I think they're a good football team. They should be on TNT. They're the best drama in the NFL. Everything's close. Bad teams, early, late. I mean, yesterday, and I know they're talented. That's not it. And I know they're physical, and I know they're tough. But you got to blow out more teams. And this is not the Pac-12. It's not college football. There's a lot of close games. But they tend to win our hearts, our fantasy points. They win the favor of the networks like them. They're a really good television show. They've got a highly emotional coach, and they feel like football. They get in your face. They knock you out. Yesterday was so Pittsburgh. You got Ben limping around. You got a bad opponent, and they barely beat him, and they struggle. And they're wildly popular, and I get why people love the Steelers. They're a great television show. I think they're a good football team, and years and years ago there was a team in the NBA, the Phoenix Suns. They were just built for the regular season. They were just unbelievable in the regular season. Because if you just flew into town the night before, you watched an hour of film with Steve Nash, they'd run you out of the gym. They were early on the three-point shot. Their offense was fast. But if you played them for 7 games, they were not built for the postseason. They could not defend the post. And I think Pittsburgh's one of those. They're going to win 15 games, 14 games. I mean, you look at their schedule. It's been a weird year where they've faced very few elite quarterbacks. The best pure passer they have faced this year is Ryan Tannehill. I mean, Jeff Driscoll gave them fits. So you can fool me once, but, shame on you. Twice, shame on me. I've just seen this before. Play down a competition, can't finish people off. Popular, fun, get it. Here's Big Ben after.
We know everyone's coming for us. If you didn't know who I'm not trying to take any shots at anybody, but if you didn't know who America's team was, you should have seen the stands and all the terrible towels. Dallas may be America's team, but we'll be the world's team because we got fans everywhere and they're the best in the world.
Think about this. If I'd have told you Big Ben goes 29 of 42, 360 yards, 3 TDs, no picks, and a passer rating of 114, would you think it's close? I mean, you got great Big Ben, and it was still close. That's why I don't trust him, though I acknowledge I'll be forced tomorrow to put him at number 2. Colin right, Colin wrong next.
This is Fight Night, a new podcast from iHeartRadio.
They thought he had robbed the deadliest man in this country. Guys who would not hesitate to blow your head off.
This story from Atlanta, Georgia, has been reported for 50 years. But now, for the first time, you're going to hear what really happened from the people who lived it. Listen and follow Fight Night on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
I'm Mandy B, former accountant turned podcaster and founder of my own subscription box company. And I'm Wheezy, former tech exec turned podcaster and comedy writer. We're the hosts of the Horrible Decisions podcast. Through laughter and education, we work to destigmatize kinks, normalize conversations that are taboo, like sex, dating, relationships. Check us out every Monday. That's right. Don't forget to search Horrible Decisions. That's WHOREIBLE Decisions on the iHeartRadio app, the #1 app for podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
On September 17th, 2009, 24-year-old Mitrice Richardson disappeared without a trace in the woods near Malibu, California, and was never seen alive again. I'm Catherine Townsend, host of the podcast Hell and Gone. We're going to try to find out what really happened to Mitrice Richardson. School of Humans and iHeartRadio present Hell and Gone Season 3. Listen to Hell and Gone on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Shonda Rhimes. If you've watched Grey's Anatomy or any of my TV shows, then you know I love to tell a good story. Well, now there's Shondaland Audio. We've partnered with iHeartRadio to launch a slate of great podcasts. You can listen to the first 4 right now. Katie's Crib, Criminalia, Go Ask Allie, and You Down. And we have so much more coming your way. We can't wait for you to hear it all. Welcome to Shondaland Audio. Listen to all the new Shondaland Audio shows on Apple Podcasts.
Thanks for listening to the Herd Podcast. Be sure to catch us live every weekday from 12 to 3 Eastern, 9 to noon Pacific on Fox Sports Radio and FS1. Find your local station for the Herd at foxsportsradio.com or stream us live every day on the iHeartRadio app by searching Herd.
You're listening to Fox Sports Radio.
Here we go on a Monday. Great first hour flew by. Live in Los Angeles, this is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening. We're on Fox Sports Radio, iHeartRadio, and FS1. By the way, I was 40 minutes late today to work. My phone wouldn't take a charge.
So scary.
I woke up at 50 minutes later than usual. And it was one of those things where I'm like, all right, this is going to be an interesting day of preparation.
Well, luckily the weekend was wild, so...
Yeah, I mean, I watched everything.
Listen, we did 5 months with no sports, so...
Days like today, folks, we were literally in June coming to work. We didn't know if we were going to have any season. And we ended up having a great hockey year, a great NBA season. College football... hit and miss, but it's working. NFL, we had great baseball playoffs. They were fantastic. So we're knocking on wood. It's all good. Yeah, all good.
We're all moving forward.
All right, here we go. Let's start. Kyle make a lot of mistakes. Got to own up to them. Can't just talk about the times I'm right. Here we go. Colin right, Colin wrong.
Where Colin was right?
I said before the year, you can say what you want about the Seahawks, but the offensive and defensive line issues are Pete Carroll's. That's the GM and the head coach. Seattle's offensive line... Russell Wilson got hit a dozen times yesterday. The defensive line, Carlos Dunlap, they just acquired him, is so much better than everybody else already. Buffalo was struggling in the last month. They were averaging 19 points a game. They dropped 44 yesterday and didn't even have to run the football. The most points in the Pete Carroll era. You can say what you want. But this team, offensive and defensive line, they have one elite player. Dwayne Brown, the left tackle's tremendous. Carlos Dunlap is very talented. You can see how bad the D-line is. Dunlap was easily the most athletic player, easily on their defensive line, and he's been in Seattle a week.
Where Colin was wrong.
COVID, no preseason injuries. I've been terrible blazing 5 this year. I'm 4 games under 500. I got Baltimore right. Washington's quarterback got hurt. I thought Arizona was the best pick of the month. Yeah, I stink. But I've seen the lines for next week, and I like them already, so there you go.
Where Colin was right.
I've been defending Derek Carr for 2 years. Folks, he's got 16 touchdowns and 2 picks. There's only 4 quarterbacks in the league better. 2 touchdowns, no picks yesterday. 6 of 8 games, passer rating over 100. Now, I do think this is one of my favorite plays right there for Derek Carr. But he's coachable. I'd love him if he was 2.5 inches taller. I'd like it if he had a bigger arm. Sometimes he's Kirk Cousins with better mobility. But I know this. He throws a beautiful football. He doesn't make a ton of big mistakes. And if you give him weapons, he can deliver the ball to the weapons. He takes to coaching. He made plays yesterday. And the Raiders are winning a lot of games they could easily lose. And he deserves a ton of credit, Derek Carr.
Where Colin was wrong.
I should probably have the Saints in my top 10 eventually. I've been saying all year, they can't throw a deep ball. Yeah, well, they're doing something right. Because last night, coaching, quarterback play, Drew Brees was 26 of 32, 12 different receivers, 135 passer rating. I thought it was the Saints' best performance against a really talented team in a couple of years. They were humming. And you know what? The reality was, they asked Drew Brees to do what Drew Brees can do. And got rid of the ball quickly, was accurate. You know, Brees, I sat there and I'm like, okay, this is the Saints everybody loved 2 years ago. Pass rush, protected their quarterback, had a mission, delivered efficiently. They were good.
Where Colin was right.
Oh, dancing Drew Lock. He was terrible again yesterday. Again, the last 2 games, dancing Drew Lock. In the first 3 quarters of those 2 games, 6 total quarters, passer rating of 58. Win more games, then you could dance. I said on Friday I would dance today, but my guess is Mr. Cool, Mr. Dance, Mr. Up and Down would deliver a dud after being great in the 4th quarter last Sunday. And this is my knock on the highly emotional quarterbacks. The silly guys, the cocky guys, the fun guys, they're all over the map. I want neutral. That kind of guy gives me 7 out of 8 games the same performance.
Where Colin was wrong.
Tua was spectacular. Did everything the coaching staff asked him to. Arizona's defense isn't much to look at, but I will say this. He showed quickness. He made smart decisions. We know he's accurate. He got a lot of velocity on the ball. He even had a couple of scrambles. He had a wiggle, which I didn't know if he had. I just thought he played within himself and then a couple of times above himself. I also think in the red zone, where it's very cluttered, that kind of defines who you'll be in the NFL. A lot of guys move the ball between the 30s. But in the red zone, he made really smart, quick decisions. Get down, please, Tua. Thank you. Please get down there. I just thought he made good throws and good decisions. And after that Rams performance, I was concerned, but he knocked it out of the park.
Where Colin was right.
What does Brian Kelly have to do at Notre Dame for you to get it? I don't understand it. The last 2 times they played Georgia, they lost 23-17 in 2019. They just beat Clemson. If you take out Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson, when they have their star quarterbacks, those are the 3 best programs in America. The next 5, Oklahoma, Georgia, Notre Dame, this isn't academic power. This is the middle of Indiana. It's a private school. Religious overtones. It's not easy to win here. Lou Holtz left. They had 5 guys that got fired. This is a really good coach. And again, I don't feel like they have Ohio State speed sometimes or depth of talent at wide receiver, running back. But when I watch Notre Dame, I'm always taken away how well prepared they are, how physical they are. They're big. They got big. And he's come out here to California, and he knows personnel because he is taking some running backs and wide receivers, which, you know, USC wasn't on, the Pac-12 was lukewarm on, and they always deliver. So the guy knows personnel, and I don't know why he's not given the respect or the NFL looks he deserves.
Where Colin was wrong.
I like Matt Nagy, coach of the Chicago Bears, but he's got to own up to some of this. Offense is not this hard. They had 56 yards rushing, and that includes 11 on a fake punt. They were shut out the first 3 quarters. And again, I get it. They're not great at quarterback. But come on. Miami with Tua can't be that efficient, and you're this bad. Tennessee had given up over 30 points 4 times. They couldn't move the ball. They couldn't run the ball. Sometimes Matt Nagy, and young coaches do this. They get a little cute. Like, run the ball. Run the ball more. Establish it. Whatever you got to do, if you can't do that, your quarterbacks, Trubisky and Foles, are not good enough to play from behind. They're not good enough to carry you.
Where Colin was wrong.
I love James Franklin at Penn State. He's 0-3. I like Jim Harbaugh. He's 1-2. James Franklin at Penn State got blown out by Maryland, and Harbaugh got whacked by Indiana. And those are 2 of my favorite college football coaches. I don't know if it's indifference, if it's too many guys opted out, if it's COVID, I don't know. But I mean, Penn State got rolled by a basketball school. And Harbaugh's teams, they don't even look prepared in the last 2 weeks in the first half. They fall into these massive holes. So there's a lot of speculation about Harbaugh in the NFL, and I got to be honest, I think Harbaugh needs to take some time off and recalibrate coaching, period, because Michigan is not getting better. They can't figure out quarterback, and I love James Franklin, but 0-3, routed by Maryland, not good enough. All right, I want to say this. So, listen, we all know there's great quarterbacks, there's good quarterbacks, we got to get a new quarterback, but I do find it a little funny on Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson doesn't hurt his team. He's got some certain limitations. Outside of Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, the world does. But it's very interesting. So yesterday, Lamar Jackson, I want you to listen to his numbers. Now, this is against a good Colt defense. This is a good defense, top 5 defense. He goes 19 of 23. No interceptions, 98 quarterback rating. He goes in at halftime. By the way, they fumbled near the goal line, so they should have had the lead. He goes 10 for 10 against this defense. Okay, Phillip Rivers hurts the Colts. Lamar doesn't hurt the Ravens. He has specific limitations on throwing outside the numbers. Okay, but I saw 5 or 6 quarterbacks yesterday, some good ones, unravel completely. Lamar doesn't unravel. Listen, he played the Steelers. They make everybody look bad. I mean, the Pittsburgh is, when they're on and they're focused against a good opponent, they make people look bad. Lamar's got some limitations. Can he get through those? We'll see. But if you go 10 for 10 in the second half against the Colts defense, first of all, he's a great runner. He's also mostly a good enough passer. He's good enough. That ball's over the middle. He's good enough. I don't think he's going to be Mahomes or Kyler Murray. I'm not sure anybody on the planet is. I don't think he's Russell Wilson. But when I watch him play and they use his brilliant and electric and dynamic legs, coupled with play action, he's very effective. He's very effective. And, he makes plays. He keeps you up at night. He wins a lot. He's won 25 of 30 games. 25 of 30. And you watch this weekend. Bettors are struggling to bet the right teams this year. Kansas City lost to the Raiders. He's played 30 regular season games. He's won 25. And what I liked yesterday was he was a little uneven in the first half. He goes in at halftime. Greg Roman sits down. They recalibrate. He comes out. He goes 10 for 10. Okay. There's a difference between hurting your team and being limited. Kirk Cousins can be limited. Derek Carr's got throws. Drew Brees can be limited. Drew Brees doesn't throw the ball down the field. That's a limitation. Lamar does it. I don't think Lamar outside the hash marks. I think people say it's not what he's great at. But when I watch him yesterday, and I watched that entire game, I watched every snap, I'm like, listen, when you can go in at halftime, recalibrate, come out and go 10 for 10, I don't want Lamar throwing it 42 times. I don't want him throwing it 38 times. I want him throwing it 25 times. That's about what I want Derek Carr throwing it. There's a difference between hurting us and having limitations on what you can do and what you can't. By the way, if you look at the Ravens schedule, they're going to go 14-2 or 13-3. So it's funny this morning, we're bearing Tampa, we're bearing this team, we're bearing that team. I look at the Ravens schedule, it's a 14-2, 13-3 team. So it may not get the number 1 seed, but they're going to be playing home playoff games, and I wouldn't want to have to face them. Now, does he have a ceiling in the postseason? Last 2 years he has. Last 2 years he has. And all right, let's give him a third year. I'm not gonna judge him on his rookie year. I think he deserves more than 2 playoff games before I totally judge him. But I thought yesterday was a prime example. he's kind of not quite figuring it out. He went in half, recalibrates, goes 10 for 10. They use him brilliantly. He keeps the ball more in the second half instead of handing it off. The Colts bite. He gets a couple of big runs, gets his confidence up, forces play action to work. Linebackers have to be more honest. I'm good with it. I mean, not everybody's Mahomes. I'm good with it. Some guys are short. Some guys don't make the outside throws. Brees can't throw it deep. 25-5 in 30 games. He needs a break. He just got to figure out how to beat the Chiefs more. How about that? How about we say that? What's wrong with Lamar? He is not good against the Chiefs. Nobody else is either. So, okay. What a blip. What a stain on society. He can't beat the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. To this point, I'll give you that. You beat me on that argument. Kind of does everything else fine. Certainly good enough to win playoff games, to me. Trent Dilfer's around the corner. Oh, boy, he's going to be all over me on Tua. Oh, boy. I better get ready for that.
Want more Herd? The Herd streams 24 hours a day, 7 days a week within the iHeartRadio app. Search Herd to listen live or on demand whenever you like.
I'm Shonda Rhimes. If you've watched Grey's Anatomy or any of my TV shows, then you know I love to tell a good story. Well, now there's Shondaland Audio. We've partnered with iHeartRadio to launch a slate of great podcasts. You can listen to the first 4 right now. Katie's Crib, Criminalia, Go Ask Allie, and You Down. And we have so much more coming your way. We can't wait for you to hear it all. Welcome to Shondaland Audio. Listen to all the new Shondaland Audio shows on Apple Podcasts.
On September 17th, 2009, 24-year-old Mitrice Richardson disappeared without a trace in the woods near Malibu, California. She had been arrested at a beachside restaurant for failing to pay a tab and taken to the Lost Hills Sheriff Station.
You know, I mean, she's not from that area, and I would hate to wake up to a morning report. Lost somewhere with her head chopped off.
The police released her just after midnight, with no car, no cell phone, no money.
She doesn't know the area. She's never been in your area. Well, I think she's depressed. That's what has me horrified.
That's worried you more than just her. Okay.
Mitrice disappeared into the darkness and was never seen alive again. I'm Catherine Townsend, host of the podcast Hell and Gone. We're going to try to find out what really happened to Mitrice Richardson. School of Humans and iHeartRadio present Hell and Gone Season 3. Listen to Hell and Gone on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Sunday, a huge Fox NFL doubleheader starts with Tom Brady and the Bucs taking on the Panthers. Then in America's Game of the Week, Russell Wilson and the Seahawks battle Jared Goff and the Rams. For other regional action, check local listings for the game in your area.
Eagles-Giants now is interesting, because how about the Giants?
They're Miami. They're the Miami of last year.
And I'll tell you what, they're boring, always. Even when they won Super Bowls, they're boring. But when I watch the Giants, I'm like, they're in. They just need more speed on offense. They need a little bit. They got Sterling Shepard. They'll get Saquon back. Evan Ingram I like. Giants just need some speed. Gettleman had a surprisingly good draft last year. I know we think he's goofy. Maybe the Giants, Dave Gettleman hired the right coach. Because when I'm watching the Giants play, they are getting better every Sunday.
You can tell they bought in.
Oh, totally bought in. And let's go Trent Dilfer. By the way, Lipscomb Academy head football coach Nashville won a playoff game, their first playoff game, 63-3. They're the Chiefs of Nashville, Tennessee. Decade and a half, Super Bowl and a Pro Bowl. So I was saying this, yeah, we can, let's not separate coach and quarterback. They both need each other. So when I watch Tua, I'm like, man, if he gets Brian Flores' defense, they're going to be in the 20s a lot. And then I watch Tua, and it's weird, Trent. I think Tua is a better fit than Ryan Fitzpatrick, because when I watch that defense, I'm like, you just stay within the system. Like, I don't know, I watched Miami, Trent, and I'm like, this thing could, what did you make of the performance of Tua, Brian, the whole Dolphin team?
Well, I love the Dolphins right now. I think Brian Flores is one of the best coaches in football. They play hard. You know, you can still see in the NFL, there's certain teams that play hard at the point of attack. They play hard in big moments, but they don't play hard away from the ball. They don't play hard when they're down. The Dolphins play like their hair's on fire for 60 minutes. I love their coaching. They're so organized. They play clean football. They're really good on special teams. And offense, I like what they're doing. They're not trying to be flash and sizzle. They're trying to be substantive. I think there's a good volume of throws for Tua. You know, high 20s, low 30s as a rookie quarterback. I think you get the most out of the quarterback that way. I liked how they used him. They recognize he's a brilliant downfield thrower. They gave him opportunities to take shots downfield. He looked like these other rookie phenom quarterbacks. He was very decisive. His eyes were settled. He wasn't looking all over the place and frenetic. I thought it was a really good performance by the Dolphins all the way around, and I think they're only going to get better. You know, if you look at, I didn't count the first four games of the season, kind of count them as preseason. If you look at after the first four games, I think they have the second most wins in the NFL. So this is a team that's trending up. They're getting more organized as they go on, and I think they got the right quarterback to take them to the playoffs.
Well, you know, Kyler Murray doesn't have the defense. And, I mean, his coach is a college coach who'd never been in the NFL. They've asked him to be in the toughest division. Every 2 or 3 weeks I watch Kyler, and he's just better. I don't even know. I guess there's Russell Wilson. I mean, I'm blown away by him. I think, you know what's funny, Trent? He may throw the nicest football in the league when he's on. It is stunningly beautiful.
I don't know if there's a more exciting player to watch. You know, last year that was Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. You can make that argument. Russell Wilson. But, I mean, what they do in the run game with Kyler, like, you make the slightest little mistake, he just torches you in the run game, and then all the design runs. They've stolen a page out of Baltimore's book with some of the arcing and double arcing blocking in the zone run game. Very popular in college football and high school football. He understands when people are around him, he protects himself. The kid hardly ever gets hit. And you're right, he can flat spin. And I remember at Elite 11 camp when he was 16 years old, pointing out that his ball spun as much as anybody I'd ever seen. So this guy's a natural leader. Never lost a high school football game in Texas 6A football. You know, the accomplishments go on and on and on, and I think he's destined for greatness in the NFL as well.
What do you make of Brady, the struggles, the O-line, not having much of a... I mean, let's just... Sometimes I watch it, and I'm like, all right. Seattle had a bad first half, but they fought back. Kansas City's had bad games, but they're competitive. What do you make of Tampa last night?
I just think it was a stinker for one, but I do think they still need Bruce, Byron, and Tom still need to have more dialogue and more understanding of Tom's DNA as a passer. If you go back and I've studied Tom Brady for years, played against him, and then studied him when I was doing TV, he has a very specific DNA to his game, and that is early in the game, he likes the quick possession passing game. He wants to get the ball out of his hand early, to underneath defenders, to frustrate the pass rush, to start dictating terms to the linebackers and secondary. And as he does that, he starts to now go 5 yards more, 10 yards more, 15 yards more down the field. Last night, right off the get-go, they're trying to chunk the ball down the field. It didn't seem like the Tom Brady type offense. They abandoned their play-action game. They didn't even run the football. They didn't try to run the football. It just didn't seem like it fit Tom Brady's DNA as a quarterback. And you know, you have a player this great, the greatest of all time, you need to call the game for the quarterback. You don't call it for scheme. You don't call it for matchups. You call it for the quarterback. If the quarterback gets going, and he's one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time, he'll fix the rest. And last night seemed like this was Bruce Arians, Byron Leftwich trying to take advantage of some looks they saw with the Saints and chuck it down the field when in reality they just had to get Tom Brady going, and that would have been a different game.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. You played on a couple of really good teams. Obviously, the Ravens won the Super Bowl. And the Steelers, I'm not going to get burned again. I've seen this. They're really emotional. And I compare them to Tyson. They can just overwhelm you. If you're not ready to go, that defense just overwhelms you. But boy, you get them in the ring with an equal, and you know, their lack of attention to detail sometimes can be their undoing in the playoffs when you face better coaches, better schemes, better offensive lines. I mean, I watched the Steelers yesterday. I'm like, this is so Pittsburgh. Did you ever play on those Ravens teams? What is it like when you know you have better players, Trent, everywhere? Is it hard to get up for a bad team?
Well, I was one of the worst players on a good team, so I had to get up for every game. You know, I heard what you said about this series, and I'm not going to disagree. I love the Tyson comparison. However, the Steelers to me are brilliantly boring. I think that's what kind of has people going, are they really as good as their record? They're very substantive, and they're in areas that people don't glorify a lot right now. It's like turnover margin. They're third best in the league. Goal-to-goal situations, which is the hardest situation in all of offensive football. They're 10 for 10 this year. They're by far number one. Third down offense. They lead the league in third down offense. So little things like that where it takes a lot of detail. It takes a lot of craftsmanship to be good in those areas. They are very good. Defensively, obviously, they're big, they're thick, they're strong, they're physical. They're kind of that bruising type defense, but they give up some big plays too. But I think they always have given up some big plays. If you go back to the great Steeler defenses, so I'm still wrapping my brain around them. Here's what I'll say about them: if you're 8-0 and you haven't played your best football, watch out, because I do think this about Tomlin too. Of all the coaches, as the year goes on, they can absorb setbacks, injuries, drama, usually better than most, and they'll get better as the year goes on. Now, I agree. Kansas City looks like, how are you going to beat Kansas City? I agree with you on Baltimore. They look like a 14-2 team. There seems like there's a lot more horsepower in other AFC teams. I don't know if there's as much substance as the Pittsburgh Steelers have.
Yeah. Finally, I think Russell Wilson is a smart guy, and he sees what's happening, and he knows, listen, we play mobile quarterbacks. It's a shootout. There's nothing we can do. We couldn't stop Cam. We can't stop Josh. And I do think he's pressing a little. And I think he is. And I think to myself, well, he's a smart guy. He's been around the block. I think Russell does take more chances this year. And I think he does. He didn't 3 years ago. He never threw interceptions. Part of me wonders if Seattle's issues, are they solvable, Trent?
I heard Schler. I'm going to steal this from Schlereth, and I always tell him, I'll credit him once, then I'll own it as my own. Everybody talks about let Russ cook. I kind of agree with Mark here. Let him simmer. They need to play a more balanced style of offense to protect their defense. Now, don't get me wrong. You still score a lot of points. You can still do awesome things and let your quarterback be fantastic. But they got to protect their defense. They got to hold the ball longer. They got to flip the field.
Yeah.
They can't give the other team the ball in positive situations. And this let Russ cook thing, and he can cook as good as I think he's the greatest player in the world also, as you do. But it's three-phase football that wins at every level. You look at all over football, high school, college, the NFL, the coaches that preach three-phase football and then complement each other with how their schemes are built, how they call the game, how they manage the game. Those are the teams that win the most games. And Pete's done that better than most forever. And this year, as he's letting Russ cook, he's also letting his defense get torched.
Yeah. Trent Dilfer, his Lipscomb Academy High School football team won a playoff game 63-3. And so is that 2 playoff wins?
1 playoff win. We got a tough one this week. We're trying to go 1-0 again this week. I got a tough challenge from a team out of Memphis.
All right. Good luck, Trent. Thanks, bud.
Thanks, brother.
You bet Demario Davis of the Saints, they shut down Brady. He'll be on later this hour. Tony Gonzalez, too. Joy Taylor with the news.
Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Oh, those Tennessee Titans. What to make of them? They kept the Bears scoreless through 3 quarters and led by as many as 21 points in the fourth. Chicago started the rally at the end with 2 touchdown passes from Nick Foles, but could not complete the comeback and lost to Tennessee 24-17. Titans are now 6-2 after snapping the 2-game losing streak, and the Bears are 5-4, dropping their 3rd straight game. Kind of feels like the league is starting to level out. We're figuring out really who the inconsistent teams are. I really thought this game was going to be much more competitive throughout than it was, because Tennessee has been giving up so many points. But the Titans defense only allowed the Bears to rush for 56 yards. That's the fewest Tennessee has allowed this season. They had 3 sacks, which is the most in a game this season. And they also scored their first defensive touchdown this season, Desmond King, in his first game with the Titans. And the Bears are 29th in points per game and 24th in total yards per game in their 3-game losing streak. So the Bears are kind of coming back to what we thought that they would be this season.
Tennessee, we loved them last year at the end of the year. We loved them early. They've been a little uneven. But in the end, ask yourself, do you think they're well coached?
Yes.
Are they capable at quarterback?
Yes.
Can they run over you?
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. So, they're, to me, a pass rush away from being favored for the Super Bowl. If they had a pass rush, it would be all the ingredients. They're Kansas City without the defense, which is, they're obviously not as good a quarterback, but if I like 7 of 10 things you do, it's like I look at them and I think, that's a playoff team. I just don't think you can face Mahomes and Big Ben and have no pass rush.
Right, so we know that they're a good to great regular season team.
Right.
They're capable of winning playoff games. Yeah. We've seen this.
Yeah.
But if you're going to get over that hump, you're going to have to make a big stop or a big defensive play like they did yesterday. But you have to be consistent in that.
Yeah, they're not.
They're not.
And Burrow, you saw Joe Burrow kind of, if you can throw the ball, Burrow didn't get sacked against Tennessee. That's the story. That's a bad old line. Burrow had time to throw. Well, what's Big Ben going to have?
Right, and that's telling you they don't have a pass rush. If the Bengals offensive line can keep you to no sacks against a rookie quarterback,
boom. So we have a really good team with a massive flaw that'll probably keep them out of the Super Bowl. I think that's what Tennessee is.
Yeah. So Cam Newton and Bill Belichick have had wonderful things to say about each other this season, despite the Patriots' 2-5 record so far. Belichick has remained committed to Cam as the starter, and Cam spoke about how much his coach inspires him to always be at his best.
It's something that's empowering because, I see a side of, Coach Bill that a lot of people may not see. I see him outside, the coaching mode, and he's always locked in. And it was described to me as having that mental competitive stamina. And he probably has that, even at his age, more than, anybody that I've ever known.
Well, hopefully that'll translate to a
they'll win tonight.
They're favored by 10.
They're gonna win big tonight.
According to Bucks Bet.
Yeah, so I'll take the Patriots to win.
Well, Joe Flacco's expected to start tonight. Sam Darnold's still dealing with that shoulder injury.
By the way, is Darnold hurt? And I'm not saying but the Jets are conspicuously I never thought of Sam Darnold as injury prone. He misses a lot of starts, and so you got to sit here. And I like Darnold, but man, he has missed mono injuries. He's missed out, and this is my knock on Darnold. He's too reckless. Not just throwing the football, he's too physically reckless. Sam's hurt too much. And by the way, I know Sam. I've stood next to Sam. Sam is a house.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
He is a big head. He's a big kid. He gets hurt too much. He has got to bring it down. And he's not Cam big, but if you stood next to Darnold, you're like, why are you always hurt? He shouldn't be.
Well, I'm not sure what to expect tonight. 10 points still feels like a lot of points, even with the Patriots being coached by Bill Belichick. They haven't played well. I mean, obviously they're 2-5 this season, but kind of interesting how that will turn out tonight, especially with Joe Flacco. So Tua looked great in his second start, throwing for 248 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's now 2-0 as a starter, with the Dolphins' 34-31 win over the Cardinals, and Brian Flores says he was impressed with what he saw from Tua.
I thought he made a lot of plays for us, a lot of big plays for us, especially down the stretch when we needed it. It was kind of a back and forth game. They made plays, we made plays. The stage wasn't too big for him tonight. He played well, but we had a lot of guys play well. That's what you need to win a game like that against an opponent like that.
I don't like his mask. He's the worst mask wearer. Why can't they get him a more stylish mask? Miami's all about flair.
Oh, he's very functional with the mask.
Yeah, it looks like he's...
Yeah, Brian Flores is just straight up, medical...
Yeah, I don't like his mask. I'm downgrading the Dolphins on
What are you talking about? He's not playing any games with this virus. Remember, they're in Florida.
I know, but I don't like the way he wears his mask. Could somebody in Miami spend $9 and get your head coach of your franchise a mask that looks...
He doesn't want to move around. Those ones that they're like the cops, they don't move.
I have to downgrade.
You don't have to worry about it coming up and down. I was going to say thank you to the football gods. The Dolphins have suffered for a long time.
Oh, you deserve a little love.
And
fun.
Thank you for sprinkling a little.
Yes, fun.
To us. I don't overreact or anything, but there were some moments yesterday where I was like, any other quarterback the Dolphins have had in the last 20 years, including Ryan Tannehill, that game would have not gone the way that it did.
No, and by the way, he's got a brand already. He's fun. He's incredibly likable. He's different. He's smaller. He's different. That was great television.
It was great, and it was an overall great game too. Kyler Murray was amazing. He's so fun to watch. Kyler Murray just pops. Like everything he does just has a little bit extra
Oh, he's
like sizzle or something. I don't know what it is, but he's so fun to watch. It was a great game, and I am happy. And I know South Florida, I know they're dealing with a storm. Stay safe, guys. But Dolphins fans are happy right now.
I'd take Miami over Buffalo if they play tomorrow. I really would.
Same.
Yeah. Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Brady was awful. Demario Davis, a linebacker for the Saints, helped make him awful. He joins us. Plus, people are saying Brady wants to take over the team, according to a column this morning. It's too much Brady, not enough Arians. We'll discuss that next.
Be sure to catch live editions of The Herd weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio, FS1, and the iHeartRadio app.
When Law and Order is the headline, what does it really mean for us? Now, I'm Ebony K. Williams, an attorney and former public defender. I'm also a broadcast journalist and host of a new podcast where we're going to cross-examine news-making cases and famous faces to help better understand the facts and the context of the narrative.
That's right, and I'm Dustin Ross. I'm a TV writer and a cultural observer, and more importantly, I am thrilled to be co-hosting Holding Court with Ebony K. Williams.
This is not a legal podcast.
And it ain't no true crime podcast.
No, we're helping you understand how to navigate a rigged system.
That's right, this show is for the people.
And to help us understand how the laws impact our lives. So we're going to break down the so-called Law and Order headlines and get to what it really means for the culture.
That's right, you guys. Let's get informed, let's get talking, and let's bring some light and insight to our community.
Listen to Holding Court with Ebony K. Williams on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast.
Hey, yo, what's good, y'all? 2020 has been a long year so far, but some good things have happened.
Like Deadass coming back for a 4th season, but this time at a new home with iHeartRadio.
That's right, KK and I are back to give you a little bit of love, laughter, and levity during these hard times.
And for those of you who are new, I'm Kadeen Ellis, TV host, entrepreneur, mom, wife, and the official host of Deadass Podcast.
And I am DeVal Ellis, actor, retired NFL athlete, father, husband, and the voice of reason on Deadass Podcast.
Oh, shut up, DeVal. Ladies, I'm here to represent for us all. While this crazy husband of mine and I discuss the taboo topics people don't like to talk about in marriage, you don't want to miss it.
Join us in conversation with guests like Sean King, Shan Boudram, Melanie Fiona, Joe Biden, and more.
Listen to Deadass on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Deadass.
One of the reasons the NFL is an amazing sport, you give people like Demario Davis opportunities after being drafted by the Jets, and then he goes to the Browns, and then the Saints, really well run, are like, that kid's good, let's go get him. And he goes to the Saints. He hasn't missed a snap this year. A snap. He is their leading tackler. You saw him last night, the goal line tackle. You saw him against Gronk. He's a tremendous football player from Arkansas State, joining us live from the Saints facility. I got to tell you, the journey for you is amazing because you get drafted by teams that struggle, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, Lord, this is my life. And you're losing games, and then you go to the Saints, and it's like you shifted gears. And I just want to talk personally about that. It's like a gift. Like, did you feel it was a gift to go to the Saints?
Man, it's been a journey, man. I really, first of all, I'm grateful to God because no matter what happens, from here to this point forward, my journey with Him through this whole process and the closeness that I've got and the way I've seen Him bless me. When you're so passionate about the game, now I'm grateful for the organization, the Jets and the Browns. But when you're passionate about winning and you don't get the opportunity to do that, it takes a toll on your mind. It takes a toll on your body.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in year 5 and I was contemplating retiring.
Wow.
Like, I'm giving everything I got to the game and it's not giving it back.
Right.
So I'm thinking there's something wrong with me. And, my mind and my body, I just didn't have it. And I remember going in my prayer closet and saying, God, you got to restore my mind and you got to restore my body. And I saw Him do that. And, I was traded back to New York, had one of my best seasons. My mind and my body was on another level. Then to have the opportunity to sign with the Saints in free agency. And that's when I realized
championship-minded players have to be a part of championship organizations.
Boom.
And it's a difference. It's a difference. And when I was able to come into this culture, it was like a perfect mesh. And that's why I've had the type of success I've had. The organization has had the type of success it's had. And have an opportunity to extend my time here this past off season. It's just been amazing, man, and I give credit to the journey, the journey is so important because anybody that's going through something adversity wise, I just encourage them, like, you can lean on God. He's real. He's gonna show up. I mean, I've seen him happen in my own life, and so I wouldn't tell anybody that's something I hadn't experienced myself, and it's just been a blessing. It's been a blessing. So no matter what happens, I'm all in, man.
Well, you're all in. 3 straight plus 100 tackle seasons. So let's just talk about last night. That's the worst Brady in his career. You were part of it. Did you sense early in the game, Demario, that he was off, that he was out of his rhythm?
I've been going, see, that's another thing. That journey has been, I mean, I came in part of a Rex Ryan team and, you know, the clashes that were going on there. So I was just taught from an early age, like, to hate the Patriots. And so, I mean, I've been going against it. I think I've played Brady at least 12 times in my career.
Wow.
And so it's almost like you know what he's like, you know how great he is, and you know he's never out of a game. So then coming to this Tampa team, you know, and seeing them kids stride, I mean, they were a totally different team than we played week 1.
Yeah.
Looking at them on film, and you're seeing defensively they playing at a high level. Offensively, all the weapons are they found their identity. They know where they want to go with the ball. So we knew it was going to be a challenge, and you know, we knew it was a good ball club. And I think we just knew what we needed to do, and that's all that we were focusing on. I don't think we were thinking about, is he off, is he on, is the team in rhythm. We knew what they were going to try to do in certain situations, and we knew what we had to execute. And I mean, it's just a major shout out to the guys on not just the defense, but the whole team, but especially on the defense and stopping an explosive offense. I mean, our D-line played phenomenal.
Yeah.
Our secondary was lights out. Big shout out to Marshawn Lattimore. When he plays great, the whole defense plays great.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the type of defense that we want to put on display week in, week out.
Saints have the craziest fans in the league, and this year you don't get a play in front of them. Has it been a challenge?
That's different, man. I mean, there's no place in the country like Who Dat Nation, and so not to be able to have them, because it's a culture, it's an environment.
Yeah.
So when we play at home, it's a whole experience. It's not just our fans at a game. It's a difference. But we felt the love, we felt the support. Who Dat Nation, we gonna ride regardless of the situation. I mean, this is an area that's used to experiencing adversity, used to experiencing, you know, different times and having to adjust and always prevailing through. And so, you know, we're dealing with it just like everybody else, and we're going to make the most of it.
By the way, Sean Payton's an offensive coach. Does he ever come over to you defensive guys and put his arm around you and say, Demario, I'm watching you too. I know he's an offensive coach, but does Sean Payton talk to the defense much?
Oh, yeah. He go. Not so much when we're doing good. When we mess up, we know about it.
That's funny. He's pretty intense, isn't he?
Yeah, man. I mean, he's passionate about winning, and that's what you love to be around. When you're around guys, not just Coach Payton, but DA, the entire defensive staff. When you're around players like Drew Brees, Mike Thomas, AK, Cam Jordan, Marshawn Lattimore, Malcolm Jenkins, guys that are just passionate about winning, and you see that they take their jobs very seriously. And you know, it's time. We like to have fun, but it's time when it's time to go to work. Everybody locks in. That's the type of environment you want to be in, man. There's no place better, especially during the season.
I got about 2 minutes left. We're halfway through the season, and football can change. It gets cold weather. It's very physical football. You guys are at the halfway point. You played your best game of the year. Do you like the second half of seasons? Are you healthy? Do you feel like the Saints get better? You get better now?
That's the most important thing. You want to play your best football in November and December. All the good teams know that. You want to be an ascending team. We knew coming into this game we hadn't played our best football, and we knew our best football was still in front of us. We still feel like our best football is in front of us. There were a lot of things in that game that we did well, but there were some things that we still can improve. So that's exciting. And so, like that, going down the stretch, you don't want to
you don't want to peak out. You want to be getting better, and you want to be the ascending team at the right time. And we have to continue to play good complementary football. We have to continue to, identify the areas where we're not doing so well and make sure that we're fixing those so that they don't bite us, down the road. And I mean, ultimately, our mission is not the regular season. Our mission is after that. So we have to do everything that we can, continue to take it one game at a time so that we can be where we want to be when it's time to be there.
9 years a Pro Bowler, doesn't miss a snap, doesn't miss a play from Arkansas State. Great American football story. You're an easy guy to root for. And do all your rehab this week. Get hydrated or whatever tackling machines like you do to get ready for the Niners, man. Demario, I appreciate you stopping by.
Hey, appreciate you guys, man. You guys be blessed.
Thank you very much. He's a great football story in America. Small school, SEC overlooks him. The South has so much good high school football talent. Everybody overlooks him, goes to Arkansas State. The Jets find him. He goes there. They're okay, not winning. Goes to Cleveland. You think he said, I almost want to retire. The Saints bring him in and go, no, we think you're great for our system. That's what football's great about. Like, it's hard to reinvent yourself maybe as a quarterback. Everybody else in this league, man, if you work hard, you keep your head down, you're going to get more than one chance. You're going to get chances. Are you coachable? Do you work hard? Do you love the game? It's like Jimmy Johnson said an hour and a half ago. You're smart, you work hard, you're passionate. You'll work in this league. And that guy loves football, almost retired. Boom, that's who he is now. Hasn't missed a snap.
It's exhausting to lose time and time again.
It's
when
awful.
You're giving it everything you have.
It's awful.
It is. It becomes a mental hurdle to get over.
Jay Glazer always says, it's a miserable league to be part of when you drive to the facility knowing we're a 9-point underdog this week. It's a miserable experience.
Yeah, I've been around my brother during some losing Dolphins seasons. It's not pleasant. It's hard when you want to win.
RecTech's more than a grill, it's a lifestyle. RecTech with a Q.com. That's RecTeq.com. It's built by grillers for grillers. Turn the grill on and off with your phone. Monitor your cook with your phone. RecTech grills. Great last hour coming up. The Hall of Famer Tony Gonzalez and more just starting.
I'm Shonda Rhimes. If you've watched Grey's Anatomy or any of my TV shows, then you know I love to tell a good story. Well, now there's Shondaland Audio. We've partnered with iHeartRadio to launch a slate of great podcasts. You can listen to the first 4 right now. Katie's Crib, Criminalia, Go Ask Allie, and You Down. And we have so much more coming your way. We can't wait for you to hear it all. Welcome to Shondaland Audio. Listen to all the new Shondaland Audio shows on Apple Podcasts.
This is Fight Night, a new podcast from iHeartRadio.
They thought he had robbed the deadliest man in this country. Guys who would not hesitate to blow your head off.
This story from Atlanta, Georgia, has been reported for 50 years. But now, for the first time, you're going to hear what really happened from the people who lived it. Listen and follow Fight Night on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
I'm Shonda Rhimes. If you've watched Grey's Anatomy or any of my TV shows, then you know I love to tell a good story. Well, now there's Shondaland Audio. We've partnered with iHeartRadio to launch a slate of great podcasts. You can listen to the first 4 right now. Katie's Crib, Criminalia, Go Ask Allie, and You Down. And we have so much more coming your way. We can't wait for you to hear it all. Welcome to Shondaland Audio. Listen to all the new Shondaland Audio shows on Apple Podcasts.
This is Fight Night, a new podcast from iHeartRadio.
They thought he had robbed the deadliest man in this country. Guys who would not hesitate to blow your head off.
This story from Atlanta, Georgia, has been reported for 50 years. But now, for the first time, you're going to hear what really happened from the people who lived it. Listen and follow Fight Night on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Thanks for listening to the Herd Podcast. Be sure to catch us live every weekday from 12 to 3 Eastern, 9 to noon Pacific on Fox Sports Radio and FS1. Find your local station for the Herd at foxsportsradio.com or stream us live every day on the iHeartRadio app by searching Herd.
You're listening to Fox Sports Radio.
You faced a lot of opponents over the years. Here's one that we all face, age. Start every morning with M-Drive. I eat right, I work out, M-Drive. Proteins, vitamins, minerals, digestive enzymes for elite nutrition. Check it out, mdrivestart.com. Tony Gonzalez played 17 years, missed just a couple of starts in 17 years. This is the time of the year, though. It's a little bit of a beatdown. Nobody's totally healthy. Gets a little colder. And we are more than halfway through the season. And Tony, the Hall of Famer Fox Sports analyst, is now joining us live. So go back to the best teams you were on. The best teams. Tampa's a good team. They're 6-3. We know that. That game was over 8 minutes in. Go back to your career when you were on a good team and you literally knew at the start of the second quarter, we're getting our arse kicked. This thing is done. Is it harder to play when you're winning that game or losing it like Tampa?
It's harder to play when you're losing it. I mean, we all have them, by the way. We all go through it. That was a big beatdown, of course. I was watching the game and I'm thinking to myself, did I ever get my butt kicked like that in the pros? And I can't remember. I remember putting the beat down on another team, but never really being on the receiving end of that type of lopsided game, especially that early. But that's when it's hard to go out there and play. But you find ways to do it. Nothing's working. Offense, defense, special teams, they just outplanned you. It seems like they're one step ahead of you. You can't guard anybody. It's hard to get open. It's soul sucking. It's hard to sit there. You just want to get it over with right away. You're like, let's run the ball. Let's get the hell out of here. Let's tuck our tail between our heads and get back to the locker room so we can not even watch the tape probably and move on because that game we don't want to be reminded of that game anymore.
You know, it is interesting. Let's talk about the Saints for a second. So when you go out, and we know the Saints are a good team, when you blow out a team, it's always hard in this league, Tony, to play back-to-back-to-back great games. I mean, most of you athletes are, 27 years old. You just beat a Tom Brady. You blew him out. We know that Tampa may just bury the tape and just say, we're not watching it. It's brutal. But is there a danger if you've been on a team that literally played a perfect football game? And if so, what happened the following week?
Well, if I was the head coach, and I'm sure Sean's going to do this and go, hey, you guys played outstanding. Congratulations. Take your victory. Monday off. Everybody go relax. Job well done. But when we come back, we got to be like, hey, it's not going to be like that every time. But it shows you what we're capable of doing. It shows you how good we can be. The ceiling is very, very high for us. We can be a Super Bowl caliber team. And they got to be feeling good. But at the same time, you got to remember what got us there, what put us in that position. Take that same emotion, take that same preparation, that same confidence, and go out there and know that you can beat any team in the NFL. Because right now, after watching that game, besides looking at Tampa going, wait, did I get it wrong? You're looking at the Saints, too, saying, wow, we're full strength. Drew Brees, I don't know why we always count this guy out. You've seen me sit down with him. Why is he not considered the best quarterback of all time? His numbers certainly put him. I know he hasn't won the Super Bowl, but this team looks really, really strong right now, and I'm sure that's what Sean is telling them. Don't forget what got you here, but it shows you how good we can be.
So Herbert's look good, Burrows look good, Tua looked good yesterday. I know all these guys grew up in a generation where they went to quarterback camps. The quarterbacks, you just learn more now by the age of 17 than you ever did back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. I get that. They're all, like yesterday, Tua looked like he'd been in the league 7-8 years, right? Go back to when you played the youngest quarterbacks you ever played with. Are you shocked how good guys like Tua are in their second game? He didn't even have a preseason. Are you shocked?
Absolutely shocked. This is part of that wave of newism, out with the old, in with the new. It's different. It's everything. We got cell phones now. We got computers in our pockets. We got electric cars. Everything keeps evolving. Like in the NBA, I keep telling you, there's no more centers. The centers now play point guard, and that's what it is with these running backs. They're coming in. They all can run with extreme athleticism. They can throw the ball with pinpoint accuracy. The game doesn't look too big for them. Watching Tua out there yesterday, it looked like Steve Young, earlier in his career, where he could run with the ball. He can make those accurate throws. It's fun to watch. Justin Herbert looked amazing. I'm so glad we had him on Fox yesterday because I had a chance to really sit there and watch him. And watching this kid, I was like, I don't know if I've ever seen a better rookie quarterback with my own eyes. Like during my era, I didn't get to see Dan Marino when he was a rookie, but these guys they look so good. Even at the end of the game it's not too big for them. They're smart, they're athletic, it's everything. It's a lot of fun to watch, and I know the NFL is happy about this because that makes the game so much more entertaining.
Yeah, no, we were saying, Joy and I were saying this, that Tua versus Kyler was one of the 3 best games I've watched. I mean, it's just incredible, the quality of quarterback play. You know, it's funny, you watch the Raiders-Chargers. I like Derek Carr, but man, he's got a lot of critics. There's some things he can't do, there's some things he can. The Raiders keep winning a lot of these close games, Tony. Do you buy the Raiders, and what is your overall thought on Derek Carr?
Yeah, I buy the Raiders in the sense, can they win the Super Bowl? Probably not. But, I wouldn't put them there, but they're going to win a lot of games. And the way Derek Carr is playing, he's good. He's really, really good. But, he's I don't know if I love the food comparisons, but maybe he's like pizza. He's good, but it's not a gourmet dinner. But it's always going to be good and consistent. And he's well coached. He's got a good surrounding cast, and let's not forget he's got a really powerful running back in Josh Jacobs. That makes everything easier. Look what Dalvin Cook is doing for Kirk Cousins. He's turned his season around because he's got a good running game. And look what it does for great quarterbacks. I think not being able to run the ball for the Seattle Seahawks with Russell Wilson, he's still putting up points, but he needs a running game. Every quarterback to have success needs a running game, and Derek Carr certainly has that out there with Josh Jacobs.
Tony Gonzalez, the Hall of Famer. So we were saying, listen, the Atlanta teams you played on were good. The Kansas City team, a couple of them were really good. And so the Steelers yesterday, they go in as a 14-point favorite. Dallas is on their 18th quarterback. And you go into a game like that, and Jimmy Johnson was on earlier, and he said, whenever we were a big favorite in Dallas, he goes, I was all over my players all week. I coached them easy when we were in a big game, because I knew they would show up. But when we played a lousy team, he goes, I was screaming all week. And I watched Pittsburgh yesterday, and I'm thinking, they are better at every position than Dallas. Go back to your career. When you clearly have the better team, is it hard to prepare knowing, you see the lines, you have 12 Pro Bowlers. Were you ever in a game like, man, we're just not ready to play against a bad team?
Well, I don't know if it's not ready. You do get that confidence going, and you say, I got this. This is going to be an easy game. Stat attack. I'm going to go out there. I'm calling my mom. I'm going to catch a lot of balls this week. The potential's there to have a huge game. Watch. And then you go out there, and you're like, oh, my God, this team's a lot better than we thought. We're in the middle of a dogfight now. And you have to – it is the emotional thing, and I think Jimmy hits the nail on the head where you can't play down to your opponent, and that's so hard to do. I feel like the Chiefs do that. They're doing that a lot this year. Every team isn't New England. It seems like New England hardly ever had that problem. And obviously that starts with Bill Belichick, but most teams, you're going to struggle with that. But to still be able to play down to the level of your opponent, but then to still get the victory and do the plays at the end of the game, that's where the really great teams, and that's why I still think Pittsburgh is, no matter what that score was, I still think they're one of the best teams in the NFL.
So you played 17 years, and there's a difference between August, September, early October football, and from this point forward. It looked cold, it gets wet. Did you prefer, you're a good-looking, handsome guy out there catching passes, did you like September football, or was there something about, like, near Thanksgiving on? Because it feels like we're getting to a point now where it is much more physical than it was 2 months. The games look different now. What did you prefer?
Well, I felt better as a player as the season kept going because of my preparation off the field, where I knew my body was going to be well. Like I felt like as long as I'm consistent, the numbers will start to come, the plays will start to come, the better my performance will start to be. Because at the beginning of the season, everybody's all jacked up, everybody's feeling fresh and feeling healthy. I always felt like, man, I'm going to outlast you, and then as soon as you start falling off, I'm going to start getting better, and I'll be able to dominate. I'll be able to have better games. I bet my numbers were way better towards the middle of the season and towards the end of the season than they were at the beginning of the season. And that's what good teams do. That's what good players do, and that's what good teams do. They get better as the season goes on, where towards the end of the year, you want to be peaking. You want to be peaking. And I think that's what we kind of got a glimpse of last night. Maybe it's just one game, and I'm throwing that game out the window, but the Saints going against the Bucs,
together a long time, and they've been down this road before. Sean Payton and Drew Brees, they're gonna keep rolling. They're gonna keep getting better and better, and that's what the good players do, and that's what the good teams do.
Tony Gonzalez, the Hall of Famer, part of the Fox Sports family. It's good seeing you, bud. You look happy on a Monday. You don't have to wake up and sit in an ice tub. You look happy and healthy.
Yeah, I feel happy and healthy. I'm hanging out with you. Where else would I rather be?
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it.
All right, man.
By the way, Buccaneers are still 6-3 today, so let's not go crazy. They'd be a number 5 seed today, the Buccaneers, and they would face Philadelphia, and they'd be favored by about 5. That's kind of what we thought they'd be, right? A wild card going on the road first playoff.
They'd be favored by 5 against Philadelphia?
Don't you think they would be?
I guess it's a playoff game, but wow, I'm taking Tampa Bay at this point.
That's what I'm saying. As bad as Tampa was, we all thought they'd be 9-7.
Yeah, I mean, you have a dud game. Like, it's okay.
They're going to win 10 games. I know that.
You want to not have it against a division opponent, obviously.
On TV and have the worst game of your life.
Yeah.
But
it's
even
bad. But
Giselle looked very disappointed last night.
I mean, nobody likes losing.
Nobody likes losers. Yeah.
I don't know if it goes as far as they're losers. So losers today.
All right, that's a good point.
I knew they were going to kill him. Police and FBI.
This is Fight Night, a new podcast from iHeartRadio. This is the story about two guys from opposite sides of the street. A hustler blamed for robbing the most dangerous gangsters in the country.
This is like issued a death warrant for me for something that I don't even know anything about.
And the cop who tried to save his life.
They thought he had robbed the deadliest man in this country. Guys who would not hesitate to blow your head off.
In 1970, Muhammad Ali triumphantly returned to the ring. At the hustlers' party that followed, gangsters from around the country were robbed of $1 million. This story from Atlanta, Georgia, has been reported for 50 years. But now, for the first time, you're going to hear what really happened from the people who lived it. Listen and follow Fight Night on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
When Law and Order is the headline, what does it really mean for us? Now, I'm Ebony K. Williams, an attorney and former public defender. I'm also a broadcast journalist and host of a new podcast where we're going to cross-examine news-making cases and famous faces to help better understand the facts and the context of the narrative.
That's right, and I'm Dustin Ross. I'm a TV writer and a cultural observer, and more importantly, I am thrilled to be co-hosting Holding Court with Ebony K. Williams.
This is not a legal podcast.
And it ain't no true crime podcast.
No, we're helping you understand how to navigate a rigged system.
That's right, this show is for the people.
And to help us understand how the laws impact our lives. So we're going to break down the so-called Law and Order headlines and get to what it really means for the culture.
That's right, you guys. Let's get informed, let's get talking, and let's bring some light and insight to our community.
Listen to Holding Court with Ebony K. Williams on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast.
RecTech with RecTechWithAQ.com. Not just a grill, it's a lifestyle. Stainless steel, 6-year warranty. Check it out, smart grill technology. You can turn the grill on with your phone. Cook the meat, protein with your phone. RecTeq.com. Joy Taylor with the news.
Heard on the news. This is the Herdline News.
Well, it looked like Justin Herbert was going to pull off the comeback win for the Chargers.
Oh my God, it's painful.
But replay review took it away. They were down by 5 to the Raiders. Herbert seemed to throw the game-winning touchdown as time expired, but after the review, they reversed it because he didn't maintain control, leaving the Chargers with another heartbreaking loss, 31-26. It feels almost inevitable with the Chargers at this point. I don't really agree with this call.
I thought it was go either way to me, but I almost feel like the league owed the Chargers a win.
They sort of owe them, and if it's go either way, then you go with the call that's on the field.
It has to be. I have a theory on this, Joy. That replay should be 30 seconds. That if you cannot see a mistake in 30 seconds, then you don't get to go to the microfilm. You got to be able to go, egregiously bad call. Like in baseball. You go to the slow-mo. I'm not interested in that. it's 30 seconds, and then the machine stops. And you're like, boom, machine locks down. Like, that's how I look at it.
I mean, I want them to get the calls right, but it just, if it moved a little bit, it sounds like what's a catch, what's not a catch. Like, I think they were kind of robbed on this one. Yeah. Obviously, Raiders fans would disagree, but if it's that close, you go with the call that's on the field. I also kind of feel bad for the Chargers, and I'm just kind of like, come on, like, they always do this, and they've just become the new Falcons.
Well, first of all,
Falcons, or the newer Falcons.
Dave Wannstedt said this yesterday. They're always prepared to play with Anthony Lynn. It's not like they come in and they take leads. Their game planning is good. I always know what the Chargers are trying to do. It's just, it's becoming the coach in Atlanta. They just get a little tight late. Situationally, they'll make a mistake or two late, but it's not like they're not. They've got a lot of good players. The front office drafts good players. They develop them. They take leads in games. They're not incompetent. I just watched Atlanta, who everybody always rolls on, crush Denver this weekend. It's not like Atlanta didn't have players.
Atlanta is playing significantly better.
Yeah, they are.
They've fired Quinn, yeah. But yeah, I mean, everyone feels good about the direction that the Chargers are going
right.
in. But it's very cliche, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Yeah, you got to win the game.
You have to finish the game.
New England spent the last 20 years winning every game like that. That's how New England didn't blow you out a lot. They just won all the close ones.
Well, because when you're detailed, when you're good situationally, you're going to win a lot of games because this is NFL football. It's not college game. Who do you always say is playing? Alabama's playing Panera Bread.
Yeah.
Like you can predict how that's going to turn out, right? That's not always the case. Like, you have to be good at the end. You have to be good in situational ball. And I think that was a touchdown, so you could argue that they were. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't come down to having to throw a game-winning touchdown as time expires. Like, win the game. And they can't seem to get over it. But hopefully, maybe Justin Herbert will turn it around. I still think Sage is a good idea. Patrick Mahomes threw his 100th regular season touchdown pass yesterday in the Chiefs' 33-31 win over the Panthers. Not gonna lie, I was a little nervous for the Chiefs there. He reached that milestone in his 40th game, which makes him the fastest player to hit that mark. He takes the record from Demario, who reached 100 passing touchdowns in his 44th game. So the young GOAT continues to break records and set the standard for young quarterbacks in this league. Now, Christian McCaffrey returned for the Panthers.
He is just good.
He's very good, yes.
They are well coached, but losing.
Yes, but it doesn't feel.
They're in the
game. It doesn't feel the same way that the Chargers do, where
you should be winning and you're losing.
Right.
Carolina should be losing, and they are, but it's
very
really
competitive. Yes.
Very competitive.
He had 18 carries for 69 yards and a touchdown, 10 receptions for 82 yards and a touchdown. He is considered day-to-day and could miss more time with a shoulder injury, though. So that is the problem with the McCaffrey situation. They had a chance to win with a 67-yard field goal. I will say this. I don't know how I feel about the field goal. Like, 67 yards?
Yesterday, Arizona could have got to overtime, but their guy was only like 49.
It was not 67 yards. Like, I didn't think he was going to make it, and obviously he did not, but like, 67 yards is insane. That's like goofy stuff you do in practice.
I think you could do it if you're in Denver and had about a 15-mile-an-hour, like 67 works. If I have a weak-armed quarterback, I don't have a Hail Mary in me, and I'm in Denver. I got altitude, golf ball, footballs, travel.
I mean, I think you got to try for the Hail Mary.
A lot of guys can't even throw. Phillip Rivers can't even throw it. They bring in Jacoby Brissett. They're not even gonna try it with Phillip.
I don't know, but that was. I like how aggressive Matt Rule. Like he has a bit of a fearless coaching style, which I don't mind. But I was like, that's a bit far. Josh Allen matched his season high of 415 yards and 4 total touchdowns in the Bills' huge 44-34 win over the Seahawks.
Second most shocking performance. They didn't even try to run. They just went right after Seattle's secondary.
He's the first player in Bills history with at least 400 passing yards and at least 3 passing touchdowns and at least 1 rushing touchdown in a single game. So, massive game for Josh Allen. He's the first player to hit those thresholds against the Seahawks. And the Bills' defense also stepped up in a big way. 4 turnovers and sacked Russell Wilson 5 times. They also had 11 quarterback hits on Russell Wilson. So, that can also kind of tell the story of the game there.
Yeah, Russell got hit the hardest I've ever seen him get hit.
Yeah, he usually doesn't take big hits.
Yeah, I don't know if it was third or fourth quarter. Russell Wilson got absolutely smoked. I think it may have been fourth quarter. Just crushed.
It's a great performance by the Bills. I just think that division is very interesting now because my Dolphins are good.
I did my herd hierarchy this morning. I already did it because I'm not putting the Jets or the Patriots in it.
Right.
It's amazing what it looks like.
Well, I can't wait for that tomorrow. I think I already know what you're going to do with the Steelers, so I'm just not even going to...
I put them in the top 10. Well, I did. I snuck him in.
That's good. I advise that.
My hate mail from Pittsburgh. Troy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
All right, best for last. The three-word game to wrap it up. Love that game. 3 words describing succinctly every NFL football game yesterday.
Be sure to catch live editions of The Herd weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio, FS1, and the iHeartRadio app.
Extremely active. Brothers and sisters, you already know what it is. The Gangster Chronicles. The land. From Oregon all the way down to Mexico. To all my SA brothers and sisters, viva la raza.
The Gangster Chronicles is a weekly podcast hosted by former gangbanger and inmate James McDonald, rapper MC8, and myself, Norm Steele. Weekly we get together and have conversations with everyone from former gangsters, drug dealers, and bank robbers to police rappers and politicians. The Gangster Chronicles podcast is a glimpse into a world where society is rarely allowed access. Nothing is ever scripted and is 100% real. We don't glorify the gang, we simply educate and inform the world on what goes on in the streets of urban America. The Gangster Chronicles podcast is available on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The Gangster Chronicles is brought to you by the Front of That Podcast Network.
On September 17th, 2009, 24-year-old Mitrice Richardson disappeared without a trace in the woods near Malibu, California. She had been arrested at a beachside restaurant for failing to pay a tab and taken to the Lost Hills Sheriff Station.
You know, I mean, she's not from that area, and I would hate to wake up to a morning report, lost somewhere with her head chopped off.
The police released her just after midnight, with no car, no cell phone, no money.
She doesn't know the area. She's never been in your area. Well, I think she's depressed. That's what has me horrified.
That's worried you more than just her. Okay.
Mitrice disappeared into the darkness and was never seen alive again. I'm Catherine Townsend, host of the podcast Hell and Gone. We're going to try to find out what really happened to Mitrice Richardson. School of Humans and iHeartRadio present Hell and Gone Season 3. Listen to Hell and Gone on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
See the check engine light come on? Don't freak out. Go to carshield.com. A warranty when yours runs out. Save 10%. Deductible may apply. Carshield.com. The code is HERD. We call it the 3-word game. I mean, we only get 3 words. Can you describe every NFL game in just 3 words? And we think you can. Here you go.
Seahawks and Bills.
Russ got cooked. 7 giveaways in his last 3 games. He's pressing. He has to. They have no running game. The defense is brutal. Yesterday he got hit a lot. And to Seattle, that's the shot he took. Here's another thing. Are Seattle's running backs ever healthy? Like, what is going on? When's the last time they had 3 healthy running backs? They're down to their 4th guy again.
Broncos and Falcons.
Dance party over. Drew Lock has some nice 4th quarter numbers. He's been horrible in the last 2 games and the first 3 quarters. Stop dancing, win games. This is my thing. Be great before acting cool. Be as cool as you want. After you're good, you're not.
Giants and Washington.
I'm on board. B-O-R-E-D. The Giants are an accounting firm in cleats, but they're winning a little. They're on the right side. Daniel Jones had his first game without a turnover. 7 of their 9 games this year have been 1-possession games. I think you can say they're the Dolphins of last year. They're buying into their coach. They need to get a little more explosive on the perimeter offensively, but I think their offensive line's good enough. They need Saquon back, but I like what I see.
Bears and Titans.
Bears on Trent Brand didn't score until the fourth quarter. The longest rushing play of the day was a fake punt. Listen, Nick Foles, I think we can all now admit and acknowledge, is a backup. It should not be this hard. I like Matt Nagy, but offense is not this hard. It's almost time to go back to Trubisky and just run the football to establish any kind of running game whatsoever.
Lions at Vikings.
Vikings have life. Scored touchdown in the first two drives, didn't even have a third down. Dalvin Cook, best running back in the league, leads in scrimmage touchdowns and scrimmage yards. I said this yesterday on Sunday kickoff. The team with a losing record in the NFL entering yesterday that feels like a playoff team to me is Minnesota. They've got a coach and a quarterback that have won a playoff game. They're very good running the football. They're good on third down defensively. They get you off the field. They're healthier than they were in September. And they match up with the best team in their division, Green Bay. Minnesota feels like a low-end playoff team to me this morning. Not a great team. There's a ceiling. But as their young receiver, Justin Jefferson, gets more reps, they feel like a playoff team to me.
Panthers at Chiefs.
Best bad team. Panthers defense held the Chiefs to 30 yards rushing. This is what I always said about Teddy Bridgewater. He's a lot closer to Drew Brees than anybody wants to admit. No mistakes. Not going to beat you down the field, but Christian McCaffrey, the players are buying into Matt Rule. They lose close games. They should. They got 6 rookies playing significant minutes on defense. They're not really explosive over the top, and Christian McCaffrey's been hurt. But they've lost by 1 possession every game they've played in the last 5 weeks. So 4 games, 1 possession losses, and they should lose all these. They're too young on defense. McCaffrey's hurt. They're not a team that throws over the top, but they're the best bad team in the league.
Texans at Jaguars.
Did not watch. Texans are 2-0 against the Jags and 0-6 against everybody. I have a right to not watch games at this point in the season. I'll watch all of them in September, October. That one I wasn't going to watch.
Ravens at Colts.
Back on track. All right, 31st consecutive game for the Ravens with over 20 points. Stop telling me how bad their offense is. 10th straight regular season win on the road. Quit telling me they can't win big games. 6-2, only losses to the Chiefs and Steelers. 1 in the last play of the game. They're fine. Take out Kansas City. They can beat everybody in the AFC. Lamar was 10 for 10 in the second half. He doesn't make every throw brilliantly. But the idea that they have to just recalibrate everything. They've got some limitations throwing the ball. I like them when they're ahead, better than when they're behind. But I thought they had a really smart, efficient second half.
Raiders at Chargers.
Just winning, baby. 4-1 on the road. They are second to the Kansas City Chiefs on scoring drive percentage, meaning they get the ball. How often do they score any points when they get the ball? 52% of the time. Only Kansas City is better. I'll tell you what, at running back, tight end, they are spectacular. Their O-line has always been better than people think. And there's something about teams that win when you don't think they should. They just won yesterday. Raiders are winning those kind of games. Chargers are losing those kind of games.
Steelers at Cowboys.
8-0. I mean, listen, Ben Roethlisberger was limping. They trailed most of the game. It's kind of embarrassing. They were 14-point favorites. They're Pittsburgh. They won. They're Pittsburgh. They play down to their competition.
Dolphins at Cardinals.
2-0. Here's the line. Tua, 20 for 28, 250 yards, 122 passer rating, not thrown an interception. Also, let's be aware of this. That's not a very good offensive line. That is a very pedestrian. It's the weakness of the Dolphins right now. That offensive line is a complete work in progress. So he hasn't thrown a pick. Looks totally under control. Very composed. With a bad O-line. So, remember, Dolphins are rebuilding. It's a rebuilding team. This team shouldn't be as good as Buffalo.
Saints at Buccaneers.
What the hell? Worst loss of Brady's career. No game plan. Ran it 5 times total. One of those was a kneel down. Came out throwing the ball deep downfield. As Trent Dilfer said earlier, that's not who they are. That's not Tom Brady. I thought The symmetry between the coaching staff and Brady's skill set were bad. But again, they didn't do anything on defense either. It's bad. They just weren't ready to play in the biggest football game. In Brady's career, it was the third worst passer rating. His first career game was 0 touchdowns, 3 picks, and 3+ sacks taken. It was the worst game of his career. With all those weapons. And you know what? Don't force the ball to AB. If he gets some, great. I feel like kind of they're looking too much for Gronk and AB. I don't know. His buddies. Just throw the ball, whoever's open. Can you imagine that? Take the kneel down out. They ran the ball 4 times. And you can say, well, they trailed. They didn't run it much early. I mean, I get when you're down, but it's not like they established anything. I'll say it again. You can tell me a lot about your coaching staff, even if you lose. Are you showing me what the tape told you? Like, if you watched Buffalo yesterday, their coaching staff was telling you, we do not respect Seattle's pass rush or corners. They went right after him. So, whether it worked or not, Buffalo staff told me, we looked at film all week. Don't try running on Seattle. Just go right to the pass. It worked. I have no idea still what Tampa was doing. Oh, I don't even know what the game plan was. 5 series, 3 and out. I mean, and trying to establish a run game, the short passing game, those are all things that benefit Brady. All right, for Joy, John, we'll see you tomorrow. In LA, it's the Herd.
When Law & Order is the headline, what does it mean for us? I'm Ebony K. Williams, an attorney and former public defender, and host of a brand new podcast where we're going to cross-examine news-making cases and famous faces to understand the context.
And I'm Dustin Ross. I'm a TV writer, a cultural observer, and I am thrilled to be co-hosting Holding Court with Ebony K. Williams.
Now, this is not a podcast about the law.
This is a show for the people.
Yeah, to help us navigate a rigged system.
Teachable moments from the so-called Law & Order headlines.
Listen to Holding Court with Ebony K. Williams on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The Gangster Chronicles is a weekly podcast hosted by former gangbanger and inmate James McDonald, rapper MC8, and myself, Norm Steele. Weekly, we get together and have conversations with everyone from former gangsters, drug dealers, and bank robbers to police rappers and politicians. The Gangster Chronicles podcast is a glimpse into a world where society is rarely allowed access. Nothing is ever scripted and is 100% real. We don't glorify the gang. We simply educate and inform the world on what goes on in the streets of urban America. The Gangster Chronicles podcast is available on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.